Chapter 3342. She could pretend that the donation to the orphanage wasn't a big deal, but if Lin Yi were to help her level up, then it wouldn't be a business matter anymore. Xiaoke would owe him a huge favor. However, everything is difficult at the beginning. If you want to smoothly step onto the path of the intersex cultivation, this mantra must be cultivated at home. This is the ancestral teaching, so Xiaoke, you should start cultivating in a while. Udake instructed. Okay. Xiaoke nodded and flipped through the incantation, but as time went on, Xiaoke's eyebrows furrowed. Brother, this mental cultivation method doesn't seem to be a mental cultivation method that can be used in battle. Why does it look like a defensive mental cultivation method? Defense type? What do you mean? Xiaoke, you know that I'm a man. It's impossible for me to practice this mantra. When I left home, I was young. Naturally, I didn't hear my elders talk about this, so I don't understand it. What do you mean by defensive type? Udake asked. It says here that the Nuwa Skymending mantra is actually a mantra that can defend against attacks. For example, when I was at the Golden class, I could defend against the attacks of Golden class masters. Of course, the duration of the defense also has a lot to do with my own strength. Xiaoke explained. For example, if I'm at the early phase of the Golden class, I can block a full-powered attack from a master at the late phase peak, but the number of times I can block it and the amount of time I can block it is quite limited. But if I'm at the late phase peak, I can be immune for a long time. Oh? What kind of technique is this? It doesn't seem like much. You just stand there and defend. It's better to run away. Udake was stunned when he heard that. If this mental cultivation method was really like that, although it sounded very powerful, it was actually just a defensive mental cultivation method. One couldn't attack and could only stand there and take hits. What was the point of that? It's not like that. For example, if the three of us were together, I could defend together. Xiaoke shook her head. He said, this mantra should be a support type. Oh? It can help others defend? Lin Yi was shocked. If that was the case, then it would truly be a heaven-defying mantra. No wonder it was a family heirloom. Although it didn't sound like much, Lin Yi knew how awesome this mantra was. For example, although Lin Yi could instantly kill a peak late-stage heaven-rank powerhouse, that was when he caught them off guard. If the two of them fought together, the one to die would be Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi's strength was there for all to see. But with Xiaoke's technique, everything was different. Xiaoke immediately used the defense. Others couldn't beat him, Lin Yi, but Lin Yi could beat others. Didn't that mean that whoever he beat would die? Yes, if it's a team battle, it should be very useful. Xiaoke evidently saw the benefits of this technique. However, if it was to travel the world alone, then it wouldn't be of much use. Xiaoke, go ahead and cultivate. Level up to Sky class as soon as possible, then you can be my helper. Lin Yi was excited just thinking about it. All along, Lin Yi's own strength was Lin Yi's weakness. If he had Xiaoke's help, he could make up for it. Who wants to be your helper? Xiaoke scoffed and ignored Lin Yi. She took the mantra and went to find a place to cultivate. Dake looked at Lin Yi apologetically and shrugged. Mr. Lin, I'll talk to Xiaoke and ask her to help you in the future. Let's talk about it later. Lin Yi smiled indifferently. Xiaoke wanted to help him, but she had to become a Sky class master first. It wasn't possible at the moment. Yu Xiaoke was a smart girl. Although she had just started practicing spiritual qi, with the help of Udake's method, Yu Xiaoke was able to cultivate qi easily. Although there was still a long way to go before she could reach the Golden class, at least she had stepped onto the path of spiritual qi cultivation. Brother, I've already cultivated true qi. Can we go now? Although Xiaoke was angry at Lin Yi on the surface, she knew that Lin Yi was here for official business. She didn't want to waste Lin Yi's time. And it's fine. Udake was a little surprised. He didn't expect Xiaoke to be this talented in the path of cultivation. One had to know that when he first started cultivating, it took him more than half a month to cultivate qi. That was considered fast, but Xiaoke was even faster. On the other hand, Lin Yi was also surprised by Xiaoka's speed. Although Lin Yi was seen as a cultivation genius in the outside world, Lin Yi knew that if he didn't have the jade space, he wouldn't be able to improve so fast. Xiaoka, I have something to tell you. In the car, Lin Yi suddenly said. What is it? Xiaoka asked. You should know about the Dean, right? If you agree, I can raise your strength to Earth Class Late Phase Peak, just like your brother, Lin Yi said. This way, you won't have to train too hard. And? Xiaoka was a little moved by his words, but she was suspicious of his motives. You must be hiding evil intentions. What are you trying to do? Lin Yi smiled. What are you trying to do? What do you want? You're the thief, okay? The flying sparrow sex flying sparrow? Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. Flying sparrow? Xiaoka paused and looked at him strangely. How do you know I'm the flying sparrow? To be honest, Xiaoka was very curious. Flying sparrow was just an alias she used when she went on missions. She never told Lin Yi about it. Even her brother Udake didn't know. How did Lin Yi know? Did the Dean tell him? The Dean was the only one who knew about this. But why was he telling Lin Yi this? Don't change the topic. I'm just asking for your opinion. If you don't want to, then forget it, Lin Yi said faintly. Lin Yi looked very calm on the surface, but Lin Yi was smiling bitterly on the inside. He accidentally said the wrong thing again. Xiaoka wanted to say no, but did she really want to? She wanted to reach the heavens in one step. Which practitioner didn't want to get stronger? But she couldn't just say yes. Chapter 33-43. This way of leveling up had its drawbacks, so Lin Yi had to remind Xiaoka. This way of leveling up has its drawbacks as well. After I help you level up, the energy in the world will no longer be effective for your training. If you want to level up again, you'll have to rely on me or pills like the Qi Gathering pill. Xiaoka didn't think that there would be side effects. She really needed to think about it carefully. The first time Udake went to the Bubbly clan, he was just a blind man groping an elephant. He had no destination, so he failed. But this time was different. With the detailed coordinates given by Gu's son, he just needed to drive the car there. There was no need to take any detours. And so, it only took a day for Lin Yi to get close to the palace. The castle in the desert was already in sight. I didn't think that we would find this place so easily, Udake said with a sigh. Be more vigilant. After all, they are outsiders. We need to be careful, Lin Yi said to Udake. I understand. Udake nodded. The car slowly drove towards the castle. When the car was approaching, a man with sharp ears and triangular eyes wearing a totem suddenly appeared in front of the jeep, blocking the way of Udake and the others. This man was Tortu. He had been waiting here for the past few days, waiting for Lin Yi's arrival so that he could take care of Lin Yi. Stop the car! What are you doing? Tortu scolded. Udake quickly stopped the car and looked at the man in front of the car strangely. This was because the man's appearance was too different from ordinary people. Udake was shocked. You are a friend of the Bubbly clan, right? We come from the Central Plains 5 Elements sect. My master is the current head of the 5 Elements sect, Elder Xiantian. Boss Bai, we are here to do business with the nobles, Lin Yi said in neither servile nor overbearing manner. These words were suggested by Boss Bai before. After all, the Bubbly clan and the 5 Elements sect had a relationship, so Lin Yi directly revealed his identity. The purpose was to make the other party have a good impression, and then continue to talk about cooperation. However, Lin Yi's words stunned Tortu. He looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. He didn't expect that Lin Yi was also a member of the 5 Elements sect. Moreover, Lin Yi was the disciple of Boss Bai of the 5 Elements sect. The 5 Elements sect had split into 2 factions. One faction was led by Ancestor Mysterious Heaven, while the other was led by Ancestor Xianqin. No wonder Kong Mingming wanted to kill Lin Yi and said that he couldn't do it himself. It turned out that they were from the same sect. Thinking of this, Tortu felt a headache. After all, the Bubbly clan had a good relationship with the 5 Elements sect. It was true that Kong Ming Ming was from the Five Elements sect, but Lin Yi in front of him was also from the Five Elements sect. To kill Lin Yi for Kong Ming Ming was obviously to get involved in the internal conflict of the Five Elements sect. But Tortu thought of Kong Ming Ming's promise before, and then remembered that Ancestor Mysterious Heaven had been abolished. Tortu also made a decision. As far as I've heard, Ancestor Mysterious Heaven has been abolished? Why is he still the sect leader? Tortu asked calmly. Lin Yi was stunned. He didn't expect Tortu to know that Boss Bai had been abolished. This made Lin Yi frown slightly, but he still said, "Yes, but my master is still the sect leader." "Oh, is that so? Then you can go to hell." Tortu launched an attack without any warning. He threw a punch at Lin Yi, who was in the car. Udake was also startled by this sudden attack. However, he subconsciously stepped on the accelerator. The car had not yet turned off, so the Jeep Cherokee suddenly rushed out. But even so, Lin Yi was still hit by Tortu's fist wind, and his shoulder was hit. However, the previous part of the attack was Lin Yi's head. If it weren't for Udake's prompt decision, Lin Yi would have been seriously injured at this moment. He wouldn't die, because Lin Yi also used True Qi to protect his body, and he also had the defense bonus of the Essence Qi necklace, so he didn't worry about being killed. But the key was how to deal with the seriously injured Lin Yi. Lin Yi suddenly opened the door and jumped out of the car. Taking advantage of Tortu's shock, he ran the mantra, and suddenly urged the 11th style of the Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm. Previously, when attacking Old Master Gu, Lin Yi's 11th style of the Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm didn't have the attack bonus of the Essence Qi necklace, so this time, the 11th style of the Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm was naturally more powerful. Boom! Tortu was directly hit by Lin Yi's attack and flew out. In fact, Tortu was very confident in his strength, and he felt that he could definitely kill Lin Yi with one punch. If a master at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage couldn't kill a master at the middle stage of Heaven stage with one punch, then there was no need to live. Of course, common sense was like this, but Lin Yi couldn't be judged by common sense. Tortu naturally didn't think that Lin Yi had the defense bonus of the Essence Qi necklace, and the quick healing of the third level of the Art of Dragon Mastery. He also didn't think that Udake would suddenly drive, and the short moment of shock also caused irreparable damage. Caught off guard, Tortu was hit by Lin Yi. Although it didn't kill Tortu, Tortu's meridians were broken, and he suffered very serious internal injuries. Tortu's eyes flashed with incredible shock and resentment. He didn't expect to go for wool and come home shorn. He wanted to please Kong Ming Ming by killing Lin Yi in exchange for a chance for his father to recover. But he didn't expect that not only was Lin Yi not killed, but he was also crippled by Lin Yi, becoming a useless person like his father. This was not worth it. If Lin Yi ran away at this time, then Tortu would really suffer a double loss. He wouldn't get any benefits at all. Without leaving Lin Yi, Tortu didn't believe that Kong Ming Ming would keep his promise. Therefore, Tortu had no choice but to activate the Bubble Li clan's mechanism to resist the invasion of foreign enemies. An ancient clan might have some means of retreat left behind to resist the invasion of foreign enemies, and the Paoli clan happened to be in this situation. In front of the Paoli clan city gate, there was a trap mechanism. As long as it was activated, the people above the trap would instantly fall into the trap. Chapter 3344. Lin Yi didn't understand why the Bubble Li clan attacked him right away. Was there a problem? Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't want to become enemies with the Bubble Li clan for Sun Yan's sake. So he only injured the Bubble Li clan member in front of him, and didn't pursue and kill him. He wanted to leave some leeway. After all, even if this person was crippled, even if he was lying on the bed in a vegetative state, Lin Yi could use the Art of Dragon Mastery to heal him. But if he died, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to save him. So Lin Yi wanted to leave this place first, and think of a way to negotiate with the Bubble Li clan. After all, this wasn't the time to negotiate. If the others from the Bubble Li clan came out and saw that Lin Yi injured their clansmen, they'd definitely gang up on him. At that time, Linny wouldn't be able to explain even if he wanted to. It was better to wait for both sides to calm down first. But what Linny didn't expect was that as soon as he got in the car, he heard a loud rumble. The ground suddenly split open, and their car rolled down the crack. At this time, Linny wanted to take measures and fly out of the car. After all, Linny was a Sky Class Master. But if Linny ran, what would happen to Shioka and Udake? The two of them couldn't escape, so Linny sat in the car and planned to see what would happen next with them. The cracks opened quickly, and closed quickly as well. The car hadn't even reached the bottom when the cracks closed again, and the space below them became dark all of a sudden. Ah! Shioka screamed in fright, subconsciously grabbing onto the seatbelt. Udake was more courageous, but his expression was very solemn. He didn't know what they would encounter next, and he didn't know what they would face next. On the other hand, Linny was as calm as ever. He had already closed his eyes and used the Jade's sensing ability to check the bottom of the crack. There wasn't anything dangerous at the bottom of the crack, only a pool. If the car fell into the pool, they wouldn't be in too much danger. Perhaps the purpose of this mechanism wasn't to kill them, but to imprison them. As long as these people were imprisoned here, wouldn't they be at the mercy of the Bubbly clan? Linny was probably right. There were cliffs all around the fissure, just like the ones in the Five Fiends mountain range. There was no foothold at all, and even a Sky-class late-phase peak complete master wouldn't be able to climb up from this height. Besides, so what if they went up? The crack above had already closed. Even if they could jump that high, they wouldn't be able to break out of the ground, right? Even if you had the strength of a peak late-stage Sky-class master, and the martial technique of a peak late-stage Sky-class master was very powerful, but you'd already used the chant to jump so high into the air. After jumping up, you wouldn't have enough time to activate the technique, not to mention that the technique wouldn't be able to penetrate such a thick ground. Don't worry, there's a pool down there. We won't die, Linny said lightly. Ah? How did you know? Shioka was startled. I saw it, Linny said. Saw it? That's impossible, right? I saw it too, but I couldn't see the bottom. How did you see it? Shioka didn't really believe it. Haha. Linny smiled and didn't explain. After all, this kind of thing was hard to explain, so he might as well pretend to be mysterious. However, following Linny's laughter, a plop sound was heard, and the car fell into the pool. This proved Linny's words. Shioka and Udake were a little shocked. They didn't think that Linny would have such an accurate judgment in this kind of situation. It was too amazing. Let's go. Linny opened the door and jumped down. To be honest, Linny could walk in the dark like it was flat ground, but Udake and Shioka couldn't. Udake quickly turned on the headlights and climbed down with Shioka. The pool wasn't too deep, and the car slowly sank to the bottom. However, the light from the headlights was still very clear. This car was specially modified by Feng Tianlong's secret investigation department, so even if it was flooded, the electrical system wouldn't be damaged for a while, so the headlights were still on. Phew! Mr. Lin, you're really amazing. You were able to determine the terrain so quickly. We're here, what should we do? Udake felt that following Linny gave him confidence. Even if they fell into the abyss, he wasn't too worried. This place is so big, let's walk around. I don't know yet. Look over there. Linny pointed at a sign not far away. The headlights shone on the sign. Udake and Shioka raised their heads subconsciously, and were shocked. There was a warning written on the sign in many languages. Danger ahead, there is only one way out. Don't wander around, or else you'll have to bear the consequences. Near the sign, there were 5 paths. They didn't know which one was right and which one was wrong. Ugh! Udake was speechless. He didn't expect this place to be so complicated. There were actually other hidden paths. Shioka was shocked as well, but she was a thief after all. She was very calm. If I'm not wrong, there's one path that leads to the Paoli clan's castle. It's their own path, and the others are all dead ends. We're trapped here, and we can either die or wait for them to send people over. This is quite similar to some ancient tombs. Then, should we wait here, or? Udake heard Xiaoka's words and asked uncertainly. I think that the Paoli clan wants to kill us. That's not right. Could it be that House Gu told them to wait here and kill us? Linny was also very curious. Why did the Paoli clan want to kill them right away? They didn't even meet each other before, and they didn't have any grudges against each other. Why would they want to kill them? Chapter 33:45. Then, Linny really couldn't think of the rest of the reasons. I don't know for now, let's go forward and take a look. Staying here isn't a good idea, Linny said as he walked towards the sign. Oh, okay. Udake didn't know why, but he trusted Linny a lot, so when Linny left, he didn't think much and followed. Yoshioka, on the other hand, panicked when she saw Linny walking forward. Linny, what are you doing? If you want to die, don't drag us down with you. There's only one path in here, and even the people from the Flying Sparrow sect can't say which is the right one. Don't go around randomly. Some of the secret paths in the tomb were dangerous, but most of them had a pattern to them, and there was no pattern to them at all. The Paoli family built this place themselves, and there were no patterns at all. All 5 paths were the same, and there were no signs or signs. Like this, Yoshioka couldn't tell which one was the right one at all. That means your skill level is too low, Linny said faintly. I told you before, don't try to show off with your mediocre skills. If it weren't for your brother, I wouldn't have brought you to this dangerous place. HM? Yoshioka paused and frowned. Lin Yi's words gave her a strange feeling. This dark place was very similar to the tomb, and Yoshioka had a feeling that the person talking in front of her wasn't Lin Yi, but the male thief. She didn't know why she had this feeling, but at that moment, Lin Yi's voice and the way Lin Yi spoke made her think of the male thief. But when Yoshioka wanted to calm down and think about it, Lin Yi had already chosen a path, and she didn't have time to think. Seeing that her brother had already gone in, Yoshioka had no choice but to bite her teeth and follow. In fact, Udake was really thinking too much. At this time, Gu's son had already led the Gu family to escape to the remote mountainous area. Although they wanted to take revenge in their hearts, they also knew that with their strength, it was impossible to take revenge. However, halfway there, Gu's son's phone suddenly rang. He had a satellite phone, so he didn't have to worry about the signal. After hesitating for a moment, Gu's son picked up the phone. He didn't know who was calling. Hello, I'm Gu Zixien, little Gu, it's me. The voice of the Xianqian ancestor sounded. So, the Xianqian ancestor was the master of House Gu. Master, hello. Gu Zixien jumped and wanted to hang up, but he didn't dare. My 2 people went to your place, right? Take good care of them. When they come back, they will go to your place again, said the Xianqian ancestor. When Gu Zixien heard that Kong Mingming and the others would go to his place when they came back, he didn't know what to say. He was already on the run, why would he go and live there? What's wrong? Did something happen? How shrewd was the Xianqian ancestor? Hearing Gu Zixien's hesitation, he immediately felt that something was wrong. Gu Zixien was a coward to begin with. After being scared by the Xianqian ancestor's stern voice, he almost peed his pants. After many years of accumulated power, he couldn't care about anything else. He told the Xianqian ancestor what happened, and then said, Master, you have to avenge our Gu family. Our Gu family has been at your beck and call for so many years. Now that my father was killed, you can't just ignore it. Do you think you can send someone over? At this point, Gu Zixien couldn't care less. He thought that if the Xianqian ancestor could help him take revenge, that would be the best. What? When Patriarch Xianqian heard that, he realized that the person driving the Jeep Cherokee with the person surnamed Yu was Lin Yi. When he heard up to here, Ancestor Darkearth couldn't help but be angered to the point of wanting to curse. Damn it! If I could kill Lin Yi, I would have died a long time ago. Would there be a need for the Bubbly clan to make a move against me? Thinking of this, Patriarch Xianqian said angrily, If you can't take revenge, run. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. With that, Patriarch Xianchen hung up the phone and ignored Sun Gu. In his eyes, he was just an abandoned chess piece. Who cared if they lived or died? Hello? Master? Hello? Moses? Gu's son held the phone, his face full of despair. Tortu was seriously injured, but he was still a peak late-stage heaven-rank master, so he wouldn't lose the ability to move. Although he was in a bad mood, he still forced himself to enter the castle and arrived in front of his father, Thor Ryu. Tortu, what happened to you? Are you injured? Thor Ryu was shocked when he saw Tortu's appearance, and quickly asked. Father, I'm crippled, just like you. Tortu had already checked his meridians before. He knew that he had become a cripple like his father. What? What's going on? What the hell happened? Thor Ryu was shocked. He suddenly stood up and asked. It's that person called Lin Yi. I didn't expect him to be a middle-stage heaven-rank master. Not only could he dodge my attack, but he could also counterattack and seriously injure me. Tortu was very depressed. He tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. What? That Lin Yi is so powerful? Thor Ryu's face was very gloomy after hearing this. He looked at Kong Mingming and Little Yi angrily. Kong Mingming wasn't worried about Tortu's life or death. He was worried about whether Lin Yi was dead or not. So he sighed and said, I've said it before, this person can fight above his rank. His strength is very great. What about you? You only sent one person to kill him? Who can you blame? This? Thor Ri and you heard Kong Xiaoming's words and paused for a moment. They were speechless. Yes, Kong Xiaoming had said it before. This person could fight above his level, and he told them to be careful. It's not that I didn't tell you, it's that you didn't care at all. Tortu, what the hell is going on? Is there some hidden story behind this? Thor Ryu asked in a deep voice after entering the door. He was in a very bad mood at the moment. His injury hasn't healed yet. Instead, Tortu became crippled. This is really an unlucky year. Father, this matter, we really shouldn't be involved. Tortu sighed helplessly and said, Do you know who Kong Mingming wants to kill? Chapter 3346. 5 Elements Sex Old Ancestor Profound Heaven's Disciple. Tortu said and told Thor Ri Moon about what happened before. Bastard! This Kong Xiaoming actually dared to play us like this. He even implicated our Paoli clan in the grievances of their sects. Thor Ri roared in anger. Father, this matter really can't be blamed on Kong Mingming. Although he is hateful, we agreed to it, it's a deal. If we don't want to, how can Kong Xiaoming order us around? Tortu shook his head and said with a bitter smile, Now we have no way out. We can only go all the way. If we cancel this deal now, not only will I be injured for nothing, but you will also have no hope of recovering from your injuries. But using your injuries to exchange for a top-grade great returning pill, this business. Thor Ryu's expression was very ugly. No matter how he looked at it, this business was not worthwhile. What can we do? Tortu also has no other way. Who would have thought that the disciple of profound heaven's old ancestor is so strong that he can fight against an enemy of a higher rank? No, it's too much of a loss, it's too much of a loss. I have to talk to Kong Mingming about this matter. Thor Ri Moon has already made a decision in his heart. Father, you mean? Tortu's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly asked. Kong Mingming played us, he didn't tell us the secret behind this, don't think that it's so easy. Thor Ri Moon stood up and strode out of Tortu's room and went straight to the guest room where Kong Mingming was resting. Kong Mingming and Little One returned to the room. He was excited about his success in angering the Bubbly clan and making them become enemies with Lin Yi. He didn't expect that Thor Ri Moon would come to his door. Old Patriarch, why are you here again? Kong Mingming heard a knock on the door. He opened the door and was stunned. Kong Mingming, you are playing a good trick. As soon as Thor Ri entered the room, he sneered and said, You are toying with our Bubbly clan. This? Old Master, what do you mean? Kong Xiaoming's heart skipped a beat. Did this old thing know something? That Linny is clearly Patriarch Profound Heaven's disciple, and also a member of your Five Elements sect. This is a conflict between your Five Elements sect, so why didn't you say anything? Do you want to kill me with a borrowed knife? Thor Rimund sneered. So it's about this matter. When Kong Ming heard this, he felt relieved. He smiled indifferently and said, Old master, you are right. I just want to kill with a borrowed knife. What do you mean? Thor Ryu's eyes flashed with flames as he said angrily. I don't mean anything. Didn't we come to an agreement before? This is just a deal. It's not convenient for me to take action, so I want you to help me get rid of this person. This is killing with a borrowed knife, so there's no problem. Kong Ming said matter-of-factly. Of course, as for why I didn't tell you, I don't think I need to tell you, right? This is an internal conflict of our sect. Besides, Patriarch Profound Heaven has stepped down, and my master, Patriarch Profound Earth, has taken over the Five Elements sect. I also told you about this matter, but you didn't ask about it in detail. My purpose is very simple. I want to kill Linny. Don't worry about who Linny is, kill him, and I will give you a top-grade 4th-grade Great Restore pill. You. Thor Ryu wasn't as eloquent as Kong Ming, but what Kong Ming said was the truth, so he really couldn't refute it. What Kong Ming said was also right. You didn't ask about it in detail, so why are you blaming him for not telling? Moreover, even if he didn't say it, why did you make this deal? Blinded by greed. Thor Ryu regretted it a little. Pauli clan was a very neutral clan. They didn't have any enmity with any sect. But now, they were involved in the internal dispute of the Five Elements sect. Okay, but my son Tortu was crippled in order to help you kill Linny. You have to give me an explanation for his injury, right? I will give you another top-grade 4th-grade Great Restore pill, how about it? Thor Ryu made such a scene in order to fight for benefits for himself. Since he couldn't refute it, he directly stated his purpose. This is my bottom line. Old Patriarch, it's not that I, Kong Ming, don't be unreasonable. A deal is a deal. This is a deal. I can't just say that if you get injured I will give you a top-grade Great Restore pill, right? If you get injured again in a few days, do I have to give you 3 top-grade Great Restore pills? Kong Ming naturally wouldn't agree to it. Although it was impossible to refine a 4th-grade pill, it wasn't absolutely impossible. If Ancestor Xianjin succeeded in the future, he would owe a lot of debts. How could a 4th-grade pill be so easy to refine? Moreover, Kang Xiaoming also had his own considerations. If he agreed to Thor Ryu's request right away, then it would be a bit fake. Thor Ryu knew how precious a 4th-level medicinal pill was. If Kang Xiaoming agreed without even blinking, then he would really suspect that Kang Xiaoming was bragging to him. Of course, I definitely won't do it in the future. These two are my bottom line. Seeing Kang Xiaoming's attitude, Thor Ryu felt at ease. Just like what Kang Xiaoming had thought before, if he agreed immediately, Thor Ryu would definitely think that Five Elements sect couldn't refine a 4th-grade medicinal pill, so he would start making random promises. Old Patriarch, this is a fair transaction. It's done with the approval of both you and me. If anyone casually changes the conditions of our Five Elements sect in the future, what will we do in the future? Kong Ming also cared about the face of Five Elements sect. Good, since that's the case, then I will trade with someone else. That Linny is still in our Soakingly clan's dungeon. Since his master is Ancestor Xianjin, maybe he is also proficient in alchemy. If I go and trade with him, I'm afraid he will be happy to trade with me, right? Thor Ryu didn't expect Kong Ming to be so tough. He thought that after he said all this, Kong Ming would reluctantly agree. Who knew that Kong Ming would be so tough? With no other choice, Thor Ryu could only bite the bullet and continue to tempt. But in his opinion, this shouldn't have much of an effect. After all, Torta had said it himself, and Linny had confirmed it himself. His master Boss Bai had been crippled, and was no longer the master of the Five Elements sect. Chapter 3347. The previous top-grade 4th-grade Great Recover pill was acquiesced by old ancestor Xianqin, but two of them was a bit different. Don't go looking for him. Kang Xiaoming was really shocked by what he heard. If Thor Ryu went to trade with Lin Yi, then what would happen to him? Although he knew that Lin Yi might not be able to refine a top-grade Great Recover pill, Lin Yi was a very special person. Lin Yi and his underlings had been crippled more than once or twice, right? But every time, they were as good as before. There was no sign of them being crippled at all. This made Kang Mingming very surprised. Therefore, if Lin Yi really had a way to cure Lin Yi and Torto's injuries, then Lin Yi would be the benefactor of the Bubble Li clan. The Bubble Li clan couldn't even protect him, let alone kill him? Obviously, it was impossible. Oh? Thor Ryu said it casually, but Kang Mingming's answer made his heart move. However, he was old and shrewd. On the surface, he didn't show anything wrong at all. He just looked at Kang Mingming with a smile and said, "So Mr. Kang has promised me? This, actually, it's not impossible to consider," Kang Mingming quickly said. "The main thing is that I'm afraid that you will go to Lin Yi and get killed by him. You know that you don't have any strength now. If something happens to you, then who will I look for to trade with?" Kang Mingming also found that he was a little anxious, but he couldn't not be anxious. If he didn't stop Thor Ryu now, then it would be too late when Thor Ryu went to look for Lin Yi. "So, Mr. Kang has agreed?" Thor Ryu also addressed Kang Xiaoming as Mr. Kang, but it was just a perfunctory greeting. How could he not tell that something was wrong? Is he afraid that I will die? Was Kang Mingming that kind? If he was really that kind-hearted, he would have persuaded Torto not to fight alone from the start. There shouldn't be a problem. I'll go talk to father-in-law. Kang Mingming couldn't agree before, but now, he was afraid that Thor Ryu would look for Lin Yi, so he had no choice but to agree. He believed that Patriarch Xianqin wouldn't say anything if he knew. "Alright, then I'll go back first. If there's any news from Mr. Kang, call the patrolling disciples to inform me at any time," Thor Ryu said. "Okay, I'll call father-in-law now," Kang Mingming said quickly. After Thor Ryu left, Little Yi frowned slightly. "Junior apprentice brother Kang, this old thing is insatiably greedy. If you rashly agree to him, master. If I don't agree, he'll go to Lin Yi. That'll be even worse." Kang Mingming waved his hand helplessly and said, "Let's call father-in-law." "Yeah, you're right." Little Yi nodded. Kang Mingming picked up his mobile phone and dialed Patriarch Xuanqin's number directly. He hadn't reported the progress of the matter to Patriarch Xianqin yet when Thor Ryu came to find him. "Xiaoming, how is it? Is it settled?" Patriarch Xianqin asked after picking up the phone. "Father-in-law, things are going well, but there's some trouble." As he spoke, Kang Mingming told Patriarch Xianqin about Torto's injury and Thor Ryu coming to find him. "Your starting point is good." After Patriarch Xianqin listened, he pondered for a moment and said, "Let Torto get injured, thereby increasing the hatred between the Paoli clan and Lin Yi. This is not a problem. This move is very insidious, but Thor Ryu is not a good person. He actually used this to raise the bargaining chip. However, there's nothing wrong with you agreeing to him. If he really goes to Lin Yi, things will be troublesome." Patriarch Xuanqin's thoughts weren't as simple as Kang Mingming's. He thought that if Thor Ryu went to look for Lin Yi, he wouldn't cooperate with Kang Mingming. He thought that if he really went to look for Lin Yi, not only would he not cooperate, but what if he turned against him? "Then I'll agree to Thor Ryu's request?" Kang Mingming asked. "And you can agree to this?" Patriarch Xianqin sighed. "At that time, although we don't have to repay these two debts for the time being, they will still be our 5 elements sex debts in the future. But in order to deal with Lin Yi, it's worth it." "Okay, then I'll give him a reply." Kang Mingming nodded, hung up the phone, and opened the door. He called a Paoli clan disciple who was patrolling not far away and asked him to pass on his reply to Thor Ryu. Shortly after Thor Ryu returned to his room, he received a reply from Kang Mingming brought by his disciple. This didn't strengthen his confidence in cooperating with Kang Mingming, but instead made him even more suspicious. Kang Xiaoming could just take it and put it on a shelf. How could something easily obtained be good? But Kang Mingming gave him a reply in a hurry. He couldn't even wait for dinner time. What did this mean? It meant that Kang Mingming was afraid that he would look for Lin Yi to cooperate with him. Could it be that Lin Yi had something to surprise him? Thinking of this, Thor Ryu felt that he shouldn't be in a hurry to kill Lin Yi. Instead, he should do more investigation on this matter. Thinking of this, Thor Ryu waved his hand, and an old housekeeper immediately stood in front of Thor Ryu. Patriarch, what can I do for you? Who is in charge of the news from the Central Plains? Thor Ryu asked. It's the young master's people, the old housekeeper said quickly. Oh? Call Thor Long to see me, Thor Ryu said. Yes, Patriarch. The old housekeeper nodded quickly and left the room. After a while, a strong man who looked very similar to Tortu walked into the room and said respectfully, Father, you asked me to come, immediately inquire about the news from the Central Plains. Inquire about a person named Lin Yi. Gather all the information about him. It's best to gather all the information related to him. I need it urgently, Thor Ryu said. Thor Long was stunned, then asked strangely, Father, isn't this person the one who injured third brother? Why are you investigating him? Could it be that this person has a strong background? Can't we just kill him? I have my reasons for investigating him. Also, pass down the order to all the people in the Paoli clan. Without my order, no one is allowed to touch Lin Yi. Thor Ryu's face turned solemn, then said solemnly, All right, Thor Long, go and investigate. Hurry up and give me the results. Chapter 3348. In that underground mechanism, Lin Yi and the others had been locked in there for 10 hours. Lin Yi knew that this wasn't the way to go. He didn't know what the Bubbly clan intended to do, but he was sure that if they wanted to look for him, then they would have probably come into contact with him a long time ago. Since no one had come after so long, then they probably intended to starve him to death here. Of course, Lin Yi's guess wasn't wrong. That was what Tortu and Toriu had planned, but after Toriu contacted Kang Mingming, he changed his original intention and started investigating Lin Yi. But was it really that easy for a foreign clan to investigate the Central Plains? It wasn't possible. So, not long after Lin Yi came in, he decisively brought Udake and Yoshioka forward, trying to find out. At first, Yoshioka was a little doubtful. After all, the words at the entrance were too scary. It was 4 deaths and 1 life. It wasn't as scary as 9 deaths and 1 life, but one wrong step and they'd be doomed. But Lin Yi walked forward with certainty, and his brother Udake followed firmly. Yoshioka couldn't do anything about it. She couldn't stay by herself, could she? So, she could only bite the bullet and follow. But after walking for a while, Yoshioka was a little puzzled. The path they were walking on wasn't a straight path, but there were 5 forks in the road, and the words were also 4 deaths and 1 life. But Lin Yi didn't seem to have the time to judge at all. He just walked around randomly and entered one of them. This made Yoshioka very confused. You just walked around and you knew which way to go. That was obviously impossible. Did you think you were a prophet, a master of those ancient traps? You'd need half a day to judge, right? Plus, these 5 paths were exactly the same. There was no pattern to follow, so how did Lin Yi go? But to say that Lin Yi was lucky wasn't the case, because Lin Yi didn't always go the same way. Sometimes he went the right, sometimes he went the left, and sometimes he went the middle. Wait! When they came to the next intersection, Xiaoka couldn't take it anymore. Lin Yi, are you walking around randomly? Can you really tell which path is the correct one? Lin Yi stopped. He knew what he was doing. It was a little suspicious. After all, he relied on the jade pendant's sense of danger to make a judgment. He walked in front of the 5 passages, and knew which was dangerous and which was not. But these things, he couldn't tell Udake and Yoshioka either. If it was any other time, Lin Yi might have pretended to look around, but today, Lin Yi really didn't have the mood to do so, because the food they brought along on the way had been eaten. They had also calculated the approximate distance before heading to the Bubble Leaf clan. They came from afar to do business, and the Bubble Leaf clan had to take care of their food and lodging, right? But now there was an accident, and they didn't have any rations. Linny didn't mind, but Udake and Yoshioka had to eat. They could cultivate, but in this prison, the chi they absorbed was far from enough to make up for the chi they used up. Not bad. Linny nodded. This wasn't his only special ability. Anyway, the ones that helped people increase their strength and heal injuries were even stronger. In comparison, his judgment of danger wasn't that obvious. Are you walking around randomly? Is there really danger here? Are you trying to scare us? Shioka didn't like Linny. She thought that Linny was showing off in front of her, thinking that Linny knew that she came from a thief sect, and was purposely suppressing her in what he was good at so that she would admire him. One had to say, Shioka's thoughts were a little too much. Walking around randomly? Linny frowned. What are you trying to say? I can walk around like this, don't think that I'll admire you just because you're acting. Shioka humphed. That's impossible. I know what you sensed, but you're just faking it. The person I like is much better than you, able to make decisions even in a dangerous tomb. You can't compare to him. Linny didn't know what to say, but Shioka snorted. Linny was speechless. What was she thinking at this time? Shioka, what are you trying to say? It's nothing, you guys come with me, I can go too. Shioka said as she stepped into one of the tunnels. Shioka, don't be stubborn. Udake was startled, but his words were too slow. As soon as Shioka stepped into the tunnel, arrows flew towards her. Linny was infuriated. What time was this? You like the male thief, but you can't use your life to belittle Linny, can you? Thanks to Lin Yi's strength, he was a sky class mid-phase, and he was very nimble. He lifted his hand and pulled Shioka out of the passageway. However, in order to not let Shioka get hit by the arrows, he didn't dare to dodge, and an arrow still pierced a hole in his arm. Although there were no headlights here, there was a luminous pearl at the entrance of each mechanism, and there was still some weak light. Linny looked at his wound. Luckily, the color of the blood was normal, and the arrow shouldn't be poisonous. Shioka! Are you done being crazy? Linny used to give in to her because he liked her, and he was touched by her dedication to the orphanage, but now, he didn't think that Shioka would let her emotions affect her decisions. Shioka was scared out of her wits. She thought that all the tunnels were safe, and it didn't matter which one Lin Yi went to. She was just pretending, but now, she finally understood how stupid she was. Shioka's heart was palpitated. If it wasn't for Lin Yi, she really would have been killed by the arrow. Looking at the arrows scattered on the ground near the entrance, Yoshioka felt a lingering fear. Chapter 3349. Shioka didn't think that Linny would be this angry. She was in the wrong, and she was scared, so she didn't dare to refute when Linny scolded her. All right. Udake, hold on to Shioka, don't let her wander around. We need to find a way to leave this place first. Linny was panicking. Scolding Shioka was one thing, but now he was worried about the Bubbly clan's attitude. Right now, the Bubbly clan was obviously very unfriendly towards them, so Linny didn't know what they would do next after locking them up here. It was better to leave this place first. All right, Mr. Lin, don't be angry. I'll look after her, and don't let her wander around. Udake was sweating profusely. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's strength, he would have lost his sister. Lin Yi nodded and walked towards the path Shioka had just taken. This time, there wasn't any danger, and this surprised Shioka. It seemed like Lin Yi wasn't wandering around randomly, and the 4 out of 4 deaths and 1 life was real. It wasn't a lie. Shioka was silent this time. She was silently pulled by Dake as they walked forward. But to be honest, Shioka's heart was still quite sad. Identifying the traps in the tomb was Shioka's forte, and she rarely admired anyone in this area. The only person she admired was the male thief in the tomb. But Lin Yi had this ability now. To be honest, if she didn't look at Lin Yi with colored glasses, there really wasn't much difference between Lin Yi and the male thief, right? Both of them were so strong, and they supported the orphanage. If the first person she met was Lin Yi, then now, Yoshioka was shocked at the thought. She didn't think that Lin Yi would be so outstanding in her heart. Perhaps it was because of Lin Yi's excellence that Xiaoka's heart became more and more chaotic, and that was why she acted so rashly earlier. Because she didn't want Lin Yi to replace the male thief in her heart. He was irreplaceable. In a trance, Xiaoka seemed to have returned to the time in the tomb, remembering how the male thief saved her from the brink of death. Huh? No! Xiaoka shuddered and stopped her footsteps abruptly. Her eyes flashed with disbelief. Remembering what Lin Yi said when they fell into the trap, Xiaoka's heart almost jumped out of her mouth. Xiaoka didn't want to leave, and Udake stopped as well. He was about to ask her what was wrong when she blurted out. Male thief, wait a second. Lin Yi was thinking about the Bubbly clan, and it could be said that this trip was a complete failure. Even if he could escape this trap, it was still a failure. After all, his goal was to trade with the Bubbly clan, and now it seemed like there wasn't much hope. At this moment, Xiaoka asked him to wait, and Lin Yi frowned subconsciously, stopping his steps. What's wrong now? You. Why you? You're really the male thief? Xiaoka's eyes widened in disbelief. She didn't think that Lin Yi would actually agree to her request. Lin Yi paused, remembering that his words seemed to be admitting his identity, but Lin Yi was really pissed. Plus, he was the same person as the male thief, and they were both facing Xiaoka in this dark environment. Lin Yi subconsciously thought that he was the same person, but Xiaoka saw through it. You're thinking too much. Xiaoka frowned. Could it be that she was thinking too much? She saw the male thief's real face at the Cultivator Trade Association. He looked different from Lin Yi. But how did Lin Yi know about the tomb? Plus, Xiaoka didn't like Lin Yi at first, but now that she listened carefully, his voice was really similar to the male thief. Xiaoka didn't think much about it before, but today, she really felt that Lin Yi and the male thief were the same person. But Xiaoka thought that Lin Yi was very suspicious, and so she asked, You're not the male thief, so why are you helping me? I like you, so I'm helping you. Lin Yi wanted to find a chance to tell Xiaoka the truth, but he didn't want it to be in this environment. He didn't even know if he could leave this place, and Lin Yi didn't want to waste time. Like me? Xiaoka thought about it and turned to her brother Udake. Bro, when you went to Lin Yi's house, did you see any pets? Pets? Udake was confused by Xiaoka and Lin Yi as well. How did Lin Yi become the male thief? He paused when Xiaoka asked. I don't know about pets, but how many spirit beasts does he have? Spirit beasts? What kind of spirit beast? Xiaoka's eyes brightened and quickly asked. It's just a purple lightning beast, a dog, and a pig. The purple lightning beast was something he got from the Hidden House Summit, and Udake went to check it out on his way here. He saw General Weiwu and the pig as well. Lin Yi heard Dake's answer and knew it was bad. When Xiaoka left the tomb, she swore that she would find him based on these two characteristics, and now. He couldn't deny it even if he wanted to, right? That piglet, does it only know how to squeak? Xiaoka's body shook as she asked subconsciously. Yeah. Dake nodded. I think it's called Skybolt Pig or something. Fuck. Xiaoka ran over and pulled Lin Yi back, turning him around. You're playing with me, aren't you? Xiaoka had been looking for a master with a dog and a pig, but it wasn't easy to find them. She didn't like Lin Yi, and she almost never went to Lin Yi's house. Naturally, she didn't know that Lin Yi had General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig. Now that her brother Udake had confirmed Lin Yi's identity, Xiaoka was both happy and embarrassed at the same time. She felt like she was played by Lin Yi. Could this? Look, you like the male thief, but you hate my original identity. I'm afraid that you won't like me anymore if I tell you. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He couldn't deny it even if he wanted to. The dog proof and the pig proof were all there. Chapter 3350. The struggle she'd been suppressing in her heart for a long time was solved in an instant. She felt very blessed. Lin Yi liked her, and he was the male thief she liked. There was a time when she didn't know what to do with this problem, but now, she had the urge to bite Lin Yi to death. Why didn't you say so earlier? Haha. Okay, let's leave this place first. Linny was a little embarrassed. Luckily, they were here, and the light was very dim. No one saw Lin Yi's expression. Okay. Xiaoka instantly turned into a good girl and replied softly. Yu Dake was shocked. He didn't think that his sister would get together with Lin Yi just like that. Weren't they at odds with each other? Could it be that Lin Yi was really the male thief his sister liked? That would be amazing. Right, why weren't you like this before? Xiaoka suddenly remembered a very important question. Was I like this before? Lin Yi took out the 1,000 silk mask from the jade space and put it on. The three of them walked to the next fork, and the light shone on Lin Yi's face. Ah! Xiaoka jumped in fright and looked at Lin Yi in shock. You can change your face? Lin Yi was a little speechless. Xiaoka was making a big deal out of nothing, wasn't she? He took off the 1,000 silk mask and said, It's just a mask. Are you trying to scare me to death? Okay, let's get out of here first. Okay. Xiaoka was 100% sure that Lin Yi was the male thief now. Her grip on Lin Yi's arm tightened. After a few more crossroads, Lin Yi suddenly stopped. They had passed through the last passageway. It could be considered the last passageway. After this passage, there were no more forks in the road. Instead, there was a huge hall. However, the hall wasn't empty. On one side of the hall, there were small stones piled up densely. The small stones piled up like a mountain, and even Lin Yi couldn't see the end of it. This place was like a huge basement. On the other side of the hall was a wall. There was nothing, and on the last side, there was a door on the wall. No one knew where it led to. What is this place? Xiaoka was surprised. Yeah, the heaven and earth spiritual qi here is so abundant. It's a good place to cultivate, Yu Dake said in surprise. Lin Yi was dumbstruck as he stared at the dense pile of small stones, and he was speechless. Because those were white energy stones. This is, Yu Dake said. Following Lin Yi's gaze, he saw the large amount of energy stones. At this moment, Yu Dake was also extremely excited. Mr. Lin, aren't these the energy stones we need? There were actually so many of them. We're rich! We actually found the Bubbly clan's energy stone storage room. Was this really the Bubbly clan's energy stone storage room? Lin Yi didn't quite believe it. Putting the dungeon and the storage room together. This was a very stupid action. Although the dungeon's passageway was full of danger, it was impossible for ordinary people to reach here smoothly. Normal people wouldn't be able to reach here smoothly, but that didn't mean that there were special people like Lin Yi. As far as Lin Yi was concerned, the Bubbly clan wouldn't make such a stupid mistake, putting their treasure with the enemy. Even if the enemy couldn't come easily, wouldn't it be too much of a regret if they did? Even if the enemy didn't steal it, wouldn't it be too late for regrets if they destroyed it? However, he had no choice but to believe what he saw. Lin Yi took a deep breath and walked towards the large pile of energy stones with quick strides. However, when Lin Yi's footsteps stopped near the pile of energy stones, Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh in disappointment. Because these energy stones were actually used. The surface of the energy stones was dim and lusterless. With a glance, it was obvious that they were already out of energy. Such energy stones were utterly worthless. There were 2 more in Lin Yi's jade pendant space. This discovery caused Lin Yi to be extremely disappointed. On the other hand, Yu Dake had obviously noticed this as well. Mr. Lin, these energy stones. You noticed as well? These energy stones are all used. I reckon that the Bubbly clan threw them here after using them. Aren't they afraid that the people locked in the dungeon would steal these energy stones? Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shrugged. He was wondering why the Bubbly clan would do this, but now it seemed like no one was stupid. These were all energy stones that had been used. Even if the enemy found them and stole them, it didn't matter. Yeah, I thought there was a great discovery. Yu Dake shook his head and said, Let's go over there and take a look. Perhaps there's some unused energy stones over there? There shouldn't be any. Lin Yi didn't hold any hope in his heart. But since he'd come here, there was no harm in going over and taking a look. Yu Xiaoke was originally very happy. She thought that she'd found what she was looking for. But after hearing the conversation between Lin Yi and Yu Dake, she knew that it wasn't the case. The energy stones here were all useless. This made her extremely disappointed. Lin Yi walked in front while Yu Dake and Yu Xiaoke followed behind him. Even if Yu Xiaoke was the weakest cultivator, her qigong was amazing. So the three of them were still very fast. Although these energy stones seemed to be endless, it only took them half an hour to walk to the end. Of course, this half an hour wasn't something that could be underestimated. The three of them had definitely walked over 100 kilometers. When they arrived at the end of the energy stones, Lin Yi bent down and looked at the energy stones in front of him. He couldn't help but let out a cry. "Mr. Lin, there's actually some energy in these energy stones. Although it's not a lot, it's definitely not the kind that's used up." Yu Dake also noticed the abnormality and picked up an energy stone. "Not used up and just left it here? Why?" Lin Yi was a little puzzled. "Let's go to the center and take a look." "Okay." Yu Dake nodded. The three of them walked back a bit. The energy stones on the ground still had a trace of energy, and it wasn't just one or two of them. It was a common phenomenon. This made Lin Yi even more puzzled. What was the Bubbly clan doing? So wasteful? Although there wasn't a lot of energy, it was still quite useful when collected. Just throwing it in the innermost area like this, was there no use for it? Chapter 33:51. But as they walked back, Lin Yi noticed another strange phenomenon, and that was, the energy on the energy stones beneath their feet was getting lesser and lesser. Previously, there was a bit of energy left, but now, there was only a tiny bit left. As he continued forward, the energy in the energy stones became almost undetectable. "What's going on?" Lin Yi stopped his footsteps. There had to be something strange about this. "Yu Dake, did you notice something?" Lin Yi asked. "The energy in these energy stones is getting lesser and lesser," Yu Dake said. "Yes, the energy in these energy stones is getting lesser and lesser." Lin Yi nodded and said, "What does this phenomenon represent? I thought before that the Bubbly clan had too many good things, and they were extravagant and wasteful, so they didn't finish using up the energy within them and threw them into this underground vault. But now it seems that the possibility of this isn't high." "Yes, I thought so before as well. The energy stones in the innermost area were definitely thrown into the underground vault first. I guess that perhaps the ancestors of the Bubbly clan had more energy stones in their hands, and they had an endless supply, so they didn't use them so carefully," Yu Dake said. "But as we walked along the way, I realized that this idea of mine was rather childish. How could this be possible? The energy in these energy stones is getting lesser and lesser? I'm afraid that in order to achieve this, the Bubbly clan would be more troublesome than absorbing all the energy in the energy stones, right? Besides, isn't there something wrong with them doing this? Is it for fun? Oh. You're saying that the energy stones at the end of the vault were placed in here first?" Lin Yi didn't care about what Yu Dake said after that. He only cared about this sentence, and his eyes lit up slightly. "I seem to have discovered some secret." "Oh! What secret?" Yu Dake was shocked and asked hurriedly. "The energy stones in the innermost area were placed here first. This inference shows that these energy stones have been placed in this vault for at least a few thousand years, right?" Lin Yi said. "Of course. With so many energy stones, I'm afraid that even a few thousand years isn't enough." Yu Dake nodded. "If I'm not mistaken, these energy stones should be able to absorb energy on their own, in other words, recharge." Lin Yi made a bold conjecture. "This vault is especially rich in heaven and earth's spiritual energy. It's such a good place, but it hasn't been developed by the Paoli clan for cultivation. Instead, it's used to store energy stones. Why? I'm afraid they're planning to let these energy stones absorb the heaven and earth spiritual energy here so that they can be reused someday in the future." "Yeah!" Yu Dake slapped his thigh and exclaimed. "Mr. Lin, I feel that this guess of yours isn't far from the mark." "I'm afraid that's the case." Otherwise, there must be something wrong with the Paoli clan. Why would they leave so much trash in such a place with such abundant spiritual chi? Linny nodded. Of course, the abundance of heaven and earth's spiritual energy here was relative. At least, Linny felt that it was far inferior to the space in his jade pendant. Wait, the space in his jade pendant! When he thought up to here, Linny was shocked, and he hurriedly withdrew the 2 energy stones he'd stored within the space in his jade pendant. Linny couldn't help but gasp when he saw the energy stones in his hand, and he was shocked to the extreme. Because these 2 energy stones were actually in a state of being filled with energy. It was even to the extent that it was even brighter than when Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi discovered it in the Wulanhate mountain range. At that time, Faubert had used up a lot of these energy stones, but now, they were probably in a state of being filled to the brim. Energy stones could absorb energy within the space in his jade pendant. Lin Yi's guess from before wasn't wrong. The Paoli clan had placed the energy stones here for the sake of allowing them to absorb the heaven and earth's spiritual energy. However, the heaven and earth's spiritual energy here couldn't compare to the heaven and earth's spiritual energy within Lin Yi's jade pendant, and it was truly a difference between the heavens and the earth. Mr. Lin, where did you get these energy stones? They're actually in a state of being filled with energy, and they're even more filled with energy than the energy stone I discovered that day. Wait, one of these? Why is it so similar to the energy stone I gave you that day? Udake was instantly stunned as he gazed at the energy stone in Lin Yi's hand. Haha. Lin Yi chuckled, and his smile was filled with delight. Even though these energy stones that were placed in the basement didn't have any energy, Lin Yi possessed the space in his jade pendant, and he was able to quickly recharge them with energy. In this way, there was really no need for Lin Yi to do business with the Paoli clan. Lin Yi was entirely capable of obtaining some of these discarded energy stones, and he could turn them into treasures after they were recharged. I used a special method to charge energy into them. But now it seems like they're naturally able to absorb energy by themselves. Oh. Udake wasn't surprised by Lin Yi's miraculous actions, and he didn't ask any further. He said instead, Then, we just have to obtain some of these discarded energy stones. But it should be very troublesome and difficult to recharge them, right? It can't be done in bulk, right? And it's almost the same as upgrading someone's strength. Lin Yi said vaguely. Of course, Lin Yi wasn't lying to him. Whether it was upgrading someone's strength or recharging the energy stones, the jade pendant was required. However, Udake thought that Lin Yi was manually circulating the mnemonic chant to recharge the energy stones. That would be troublesome enough, and there was no possibility of mass production, so he didn't ask any further. Then now In any case, I'll first obtain some of these energy stones, and then we'll look for an exit, Lin Yi said. Oh, okay, but we have limited pockets on us. We can't carry much, right? Udake asked hesitantly. Haha, you don't have to worry about that. I'll carry it myself. Lin Yi smiled and began to walk forward while collecting the energy stones into the jade pendant's space. Lin Yi didn't keep collecting in one place, but as he walked, 1 or 2 missing at every distance. It wasn't noticeable at all. However, Udake and Yu Xiaoke were dumbfounded. Where did Lin Yi put the energy stones? Hey, Lin Yi, didn't you say that if I became your wife, you'd tell me where you put the things? Yu Xiaoke suddenly remembered what Lin Yi said in the car, so she quickly asked. She had completely accepted Lin Yi now. Lin Yi was the male thief. What else could she not accept? So when she spoke to Lin Yi, she didn't feel that there was anything wrong, and directly called herself his wife. Chapter 3352. Haha, I have a storage space on me, I can store some things. Lin Yi smiled. But just keep it to yourselves, don't tell anyone else. Lin Yi could trust Xiaoke and Dake. Of course, this didn't mean much. With Lin Yi's current strength, so what if people coveted him? There were more than 1 or 2 people who had their eyes on Lin Yi. Oh, I see. Xiaoke nodded, feeling curious. Then, can you get me one? What do you want it for? Lin Yi asked curiously. That way, when I become a thief, I can just hide in the space and not be afraid of being discovered," Xiaoka said. Linny was speechless. "No! You don't have enough money right now?" It's enough." Xiaoka stuck her tongue out. The money Linny gave her was enough to build the orphanage. She didn't need to steal anymore. She was just acting on her own accord. After filling up the storage space in the jade pendant, Linny came to the exit of the passageway. In this hall, the only way to escape was through the door in front of him. The Paoli clan probably used this door to send the white energy stones into the hall. Linny and the other two came to the door. It was a stone door that was sealed tightly. It was very similar to the ancient mechanisms in ancient tombs. There wasn't any mechanism to open it. Linny frowned. He could go through the life and death tunnel, but this door in front of him was useless. After all, this wasn't what Linny was good at. "Flying Sparrow, how do you think we should open this door?" Linny turned to Xiaoka. "Are you making fun of me? You're so strong, why would you need me?" Xiaoka thought that Linny was the male thief, and that he must have a way out. "That's just a fake identity, helping Li Shan catch Old Hay and the other grave robbers. The real couple is long dead." Linny smiled bitterly. "Do you really think I'm a male thief?" "Ah?" Xiaoka paused, so the male thief was just a virtual person. She knew that Linny wouldn't lie to her, but Lin Yi's words still disappointed her. As it turned out, Lin Yi was his real identity, and the male thief identity was just a fake one. Xiaoka actually hoped that Lin Yi's identity was fake, and the male thief was his real identity. But Xiaoka was someone who could handle storms and waves. She quickly adjusted her mentality. "I see. But why were you so strong when you were in the path of life and death? Also, in the ancient tomb, your puzzle-solving ability is also very strong?" "What do you mean strong?" "It's just a sense of danger. I'm a refiner, and my spirit is stronger." "I can sense that," Linny said. "Whether it's the tomb or the path from before, the puzzles I solve are all life and death matters, but it's different. I really don't know how to open this door." Okay." Xiaoka nodded and started searching around the stone door. But evidently, the mechanism of the stone door was very intricate, and even Xiaoka wouldn't be able to find it in a short amount of time. Thor had some friends in the training world in the Central Plains, and while they weren't very important, it was still easy for him to get some information. Information on Lin Yi quickly reached Thor's hands. Looking at the small piece of paper, Thor couldn't be more shocked. This was Lin Yi's life? It was too shocking, too exciting. Thor didn't dare to delay and quickly passed the information to his father, Thor Ryu. "Father, I have some progress on the matter you asked me to investigate. It's right here, please take a look, but... This Lin Yi, what's wrong?" Thor Ryu saw Thor's serious expression and quickly asked. "Father, you should look at it yourself. This Lin Yi is a Sky Class Master, and he's only 19 this year," Torta said with a bitter smile. Although he looked young, he was actually 60 years old this year, but he broke through to Sky Class when he was 40, and he took good care of himself, so he didn't look that old. But this Lin Yi didn't just look young, he was really young. 19? Isn't that Kong Ming Ming only 19? Thor Ryu didn't take it to heart. In the cultivation world of the Central Plains, there are many capable people. This is a very normal thing. But Lin Yi is a heaven-class master, and Kong Ming Ming is a heaven-class master. One is an alchemist, the other is a cultivator. These are completely different concepts, Thor Long said. Most importantly, when Lin Yi debuted half a year ago, he was only a golden-class master. In other words, he rushed to the middle stage of heaven class in half a year. What kind of speed is that? Of course, this doesn't count. At every level, Lin Yi can instantly kill a higher-level master than him. This person can fight a mystic-class master. A mystic-class master can fight an earth-class master. An earth-class master can fight a heaven-class master. An earth-class master can fight a heaven-class master. He is basically invincible above the heaven class. Even Tortu was crippled by him. It seems that our Bubbly clan really did something wrong. Thor Ryu looked at the information in his hands and immediately regretted it. Yes, in addition to this, there is one more amazing thing, Father, you will know if you continue to read. Thor Long smiled bitterly. What else? Thor Ryu was slightly stunned. Is there something more shocking than this? He quickly looked back, but the more he looked, the more shocked he was. Lin Yi was actually crippled several times. Moreover, not only Lin Yi's underlings were also crippled several times, but in the end, they all went to take revenge. What's going on? Does Lin Yi have a 4th grade great revitalizing pill? And it seems that he has more than one? Thinking that Lin Yi is the disciple of mysterious sky ancestor Boss Bai, Thor Ryu felt that it is more likely. Thinking of this, Thor Ryu suddenly stood up and said, Let's go to the dungeon, I want to talk to Lin Yi. Chapter 3353. Thor Ryu and Thor Long went out of the room and went straight to the dungeon. This dungeon was actually the basement of the Bubbly clan. The entrance was under the castle, but they had to go through a life and death passage to reach the dungeon. Open the door. Thor Ryu and Long Long stood in front of an underground entrance of the castle. Thor Ryu ordered Long Long. Yes, Father. Long nodded and took out a strange-shaped iron key from his pocket and placed it in a gap next to the entrance. The shape of the iron key was exactly the same as the gap, it was just right to put it in. After the iron key was placed in, the entrance slowly opened quietly. It turned out that this entrance could only be opened with a key, and it was a one-way opening. No wonder Yoshioka couldn't find the mechanism to open it after searching for a long time. Lin Yi was getting impatient. If he couldn't find the way to open it after waiting for a long time, Lin Yi would just blow it up with a chi bomb. Yoshioka was looking for the mechanism to open when the door in front of her opened quietly. A dazzling light shone through the gap, making Yoshioka, Lin Yi, and Udake stunned at the same time. It was a little strange. Of course, the most strange one was Yoshioka. She didn't think that she found any mechanism, so why did the door suddenly open? Could it be that she accidentally triggered some kind of mechanism and opened this door? Although there were luminous pearls in the basement, the color of the light outside was completely different. It was a bright yellow light. Therefore, when the door opened, Yoshioka's vision didn't react, but Lin Yi was immune to this and directly saw the people outside the door. This surprised Lin Yi. He couldn't be so unlucky that the Bubbly clan just happened to come to the basement, right? This was the warehouse of the Bubbly clan. Lin Yi knew that they put used energy stones here, but among the people who came, there was a peak late-stage heaven-class master. This made Lin Yi very depressed. However, it was too late to hide now. Lin Yi could only secretly use the chant to deal with the conflict that might happen at any time. Mr. Lin, right? Hello, let me introduce myself. I am the current patriarch of the Paoli clan. My name is Thor Ryu. When Thor Ryu saw Lin Yi running his Heart Sutra, he was startled. He knew Lin Yi's ability. If Lin Yi crippled his eldest son, then he wouldn't be able to find a place to cry. Oh? You're the patriarch of the Bubbly clan? You're here. Lin Yi didn't expect that the friendly old man in front of him was actually the patriarch of the Bubbly clan. Moreover, he spoke to him in such a polite manner. I'm sorry, Mr. Lin. Previously, my third son was bewitched by the demon and attacked you. Here, I would like to express my sincerest apologies. I'm sorry. Thor Ryu's attitude was very humble. He knew that this was an opportunity for him and his third son Thor too. Lin Yi was very surprised by Thor Ryu's apology, but it didn't seem to be fake. In Lin Yi's view, there was no need for the other party to fake it. He nodded and said, Demon? What do you mean? Old Patriarch, did you come here to reconcile with me? Yes, the demon claimed to be from the Central Plains. One of them is called Kong Mingming, and the other is called Yi. They are the disciples of the Central Plains 5 Elements sex-acting head, ancestor Xianchen. Thor Ryu didn't hide anything. In the blink of an eye, he sold out Kong Mingming. Kong Mingming? He? After listening, Lin Yi's face flashed with a touch of shock. So it's them? 2 people? From the Central Plains? 5 Elements sect? Of course, Udake was also shocked. According to Udake's speculation, these 2 people must be the enemies of the Gu family who came here to look for the Bubble Leaf family. It seems that Mr. Lin knows these 2 people. Thor Ryu's face flashed with a touch of guilt. Yes, they promised to give our Bubble Leaf family a top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pill. Then, our Bubble Leaf family will help them deal with an enemy. And Mr. Lin should be able to see that my meridians are destroyed. I need a top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pill to heal my injury. So, we agreed to this request. But I didn't expect that Mr. Lin is also a member of the 5 Elements sect. Ah? Udake didn't expect that Lin Yi was also a member of the 5 Elements sect. If that's the case, then aren't those 2 enemies of Lin Yi's from the same sect? Can Lin Yi avenge him? Wait, since they are from the same sect, why did those people want to deal with Lin Yi? So that's how it is. Lin Yi nodded. The purpose of the old patriarch coming here is, Mr. Lin, let's not beat around the bush. I know about your deeds. If I'm not wrong, you should have a top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pill in your hands, right? And more than one? Thor Ryu asked tentatively. And then? Lin Yi didn't admit it. He just asked noncommittally. If Mr. Lin can provide us with 1, or 2, I think Bubble Leaf family will be very grateful to Mr. Lin. Thor Ryu said. You mean you and your son's injuries will be healed, right? Lin Yi asked. Yes, that's it. What do you think about it, Mr. Lin? Thor Ryu nodded and asked. Do you think that your son treated me like that and locked me in the dungeon and asked me to save him? Is there something wrong with me? Lin Yi smiled and asked. Of course, this is a deal. Mr. Lin, you can tell me what you think. Previously, my son Tortu also said that Mr. Lin came to our Bubble Leaf family to discuss business. Thor Ryu quickly added. Okay, first help me kill. Lin Yi didn't ask Bubble Leaf family to kill Kong Mingming because Kong Mingming still owes him a chi-gathering pill. Moreover, with his strength, Lin Yi can kill him in a matter of seconds. There is no need for Bubble Leaf family to act on his behalf. On the other hand, he is a big problem. Lin Yi isn't sure that he can kill him in a second. If he doesn't do it well, he will lose more than he gains. Thor Ryu hesitated for a moment, then said, If Mr. Lin can really provide me with a top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pill, I can satisfy Mr. Lin's request. Chapter 3354. Thor Ryu was at a loss for words. His expression was a bit awkward. Its futures, he hasn't given it to me yet. He said that after the 5 Elements sect has successfully refined it, he will definitely give it to me, and not just 1, but 2. Oh, he still owes me a chi-gathering pill. He has owed me for several months. Do you think his words are credible? Lin Yi curled his lips. Mr. Lin is right, but I have been fooled once. I have to learn from my mistakes, right? Thor Ryu was thick-skinned after all. He laughed and admitted his mistake. Lin Yi didn't know what to say. The second condition is about energy stones, Lin Yi said. I need a batch of energy stones. Energy stones? Thor Ryu's expression slightly changed. Mr. Lin, our Paoli clan doesn't have many energy stones left. If this is your request, I am sorry I can't comply. Although I'm the patriarch of the Paoli clan, I can't just hand over the cultivation resources of the future generations of the Paoli clan. If I become a sinner for all eternity for my own selfish interests, then I'd rather not have this top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pill. Of course, if Mr. Lin gives us 2 top-grade 4th-grade Great Recovery pills, then I can make the decision to give Mr. Lin a few energy stones. But a whole batch isn't very possible. Mr. Lin, you've seen it as well, the energy stones in this vault that have been used have piled up into a mountain, and it would require a few tens of thousands of years or even 100,000 years to completely recharge a single energy stone. This time is truly too long. Oh right, I forgot to tell Mr. Lin, the used energy stones can be automatically recharged, but the absorption speed is relatively slow. What I mean is that the Patriarch seems to have misunderstood. I want 1/5 of the energy stones in your vault, Linny said. That's definitely impossible. We currently have 20,000 energy stones in our vault. 1/5 is 4,000 energy stones, that's too much. I can't agree, Thor Ryu immediately said. I'm not done yet. The energy stones I'm referring to aren't the old clan leader's storage, but the energy stones in this basement, Linny said as he pointed at the mountain of discarded energy stones not far away. Ah? Mr. Lin, are you talking about used energy stones? You want this? What's the use of this? Thor Ryu froze, not understanding what Linny meant. This is 1/5. Although it was a lot, it was useless. Oh? Mr. Lin, you can't be talking about those energy stones that have already been charged with some energy, right? At this point, Thor Rimun's expression suddenly changed. Could it be that Linny had already inspected these energy stones? Do you know that part of it has already been charged with some energy? These are the numbers. That was about 1/5. However, these energy stones had been here for more than 10,000 years. Although the energy contained in each one wasn't particularly much, and could only be filled by about 10%, if they were added together, it would still be a huge amount of energy. So, thinking of this, Thor Ryu was a little anxious. Mr. Lin, isn't your appetite too big? Hee hee, old patriarch, you misunderstood again. When I said 1/5, I meant 1/5 from this side. I don't want those inside. Linny pointed to the energy stones at the edge. Ah? These were all left here in the past few hundred years. What's the use of Mr. Lin taking them? Even if Mr. Lin wants to establish a sect, it will take 100,000 years for these energy stones to take effect. At that time, the situation is uncertain. Thor Ryu really didn't understand what Lin Yi's intention was. Old patriarch, you don't have to worry about my use. I'm just doing business. What do you think, old patriarch? Linny didn't explain much. He directly said, fully recover your and your son's injuries. Can you agree to these two conditions? This? I can agree to it. But I have to give the money at the same time. Thor Ryu also learned his lesson this time, and no longer believed in futures. Okay, then heal your injuries first. Linny nodded and said, Old patriarch, sit in front of me. Ah? Is there any explanation for taking the best grade 4 Great Recover pill? Thor Ryu was slightly stunned. He hadn't seen a grade 4 Great Recover pill before, so he didn't know what Linny meant. However, he still sat in front of Linny. He behaved like a primary school student in class. What did you call Thor? Now protect your father. Don't let anyone disturb us. Otherwise, if your father dies or suffers from cultivation deviation, don't blame me. Linny looked at Thor Dragon and said. He was afraid that the Thor Dragon would attack him while he was healing Thor's sun and moon. Therefore, he needed to deter the Thor Dragon in advance so that it wouldn't dare to act rashly. Of course, Linny said to protect Thor Ryu. Mr. Lin, don't worry, I won't let anyone disturb you. Thor Dragon quickly promised. Okay, give me your wrist, then close your eyes and rest. Linny said to Thor Ryu. Oh, okay. Although Thor Ryu was very strange, he still handed his wrist to Linny. Linny, on the other hand, clasped Thor Ryu's pulse and began to circulate the third level of the Art of Dragon Mastery, slowly repairing Thor Ryu's damaged meridians. Recently, Lin Yi's Art of Dragon Mastery showed signs of breaking through the third level, but Linny always felt that there was still a gap. Linny didn't delay his daily practice, but there was still a gap. Linny thought that it was probably because his time to break through the second level was too short, so it was impossible to break through the third level too quickly. Thor Ryu didn't know what Lin Yi was going to do, but he suddenly discovered that from Lin Yi's pulse, a magical chi was continuously flowing into his body and began to repair the broken meridians in his body. This? What kind of magical heart sutra is this? Thor Ryu was shocked at this moment. He suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. You! Thor Ryu's expression made Thor Dragon tense up. He didn't see Lin Yi give his father a medicinal pill, instead, he started to circulate the Heart Sutra. Is Lin Yi trying to harm his father? So, he subconsciously became vigilant. Lin Yi, what are you doing? Chapter 3355. Thor Dragon was startled. He also realized that he was too impatient. Lin Yi probably didn't want to harm his father, but rather, he was doing something else. His father's expression right now was one of excitement and happiness. Thor Dragon quickly shut up and carefully moved to the door, not daring to speak anymore. Don't be impatient. Lin Yi looked at Lin Yi. In fact, Lin Yi's true chi came from the space inside the jade pendant, and Lin Yi's body was just a conductor, so he didn't need to spend much energy on it. He was just afraid that Thor Dragon would suddenly attack him, catching him off guard. Good, good. Thor Dragon nodded repeatedly. However, although Thor Dragon didn't speak, the shocked expression on his face became more and more wonderful. He couldn't believe that Lin Yi actually healed him like this. No wonder he and his companions were crippled, but they could still be full of vigor. It turned out that Lin Yi was more powerful than some top-grade 4th-grade Great Recover pill. Finally, Lin Yi repaired all the meridians in Thor Dragon's body. Lin Yi also released Thor Dragon's wrist. He didn't help Thor Dragon improve his strength, because Thor Dragon hadn't been injured for a long time. He believed that after some time, he would be able to recover on his own. It's done. Lin Yi let go and said to Thor Ryu, now that you've seen what I'm capable of, you shouldn't doubt my words anymore. Go kill He and give me a 5th of the energy stones here. I'll heal your son's injuries. Yes, Mr. Lin, I will do it. At this moment, Thor Dragon's body instantly released the domineering aura of a cultivator. Although he couldn't completely reach the peak of the late stage of heaven rank, he could already reach the late stage of heaven rank. He believed that as long as he recovered a little, he would be able to return to his peak state. Of course, Thor Dragon also saw the strength released by his father. While he was happy, he was also very shocked. Lin Yi's ability was too powerful. Just by taking a pulse, he can heal injuries? What kind of mantra was this? However, he didn't dare to ask. After all, Lin Yi wasn't a person who was easy to get along with. From his information, this kid would kill someone in a second without saying a word. Even his third brother was killed in a second. He didn't want to provoke Lin Yi again. Mr. Lin, please follow me. I'll arrange a VIP room for you, Thor Dragon respectfully said. At this moment, he had already regarded Lin Yi as an honored guest of the Bubbly clan. Moreover, he could also see that Lin Yi wasn't a greedy person. The conditions that he proposed weren't difficult for the Bubbly clan. To tell the truth, the Bubble Leaf clan didn't have much use for discarded energy stones. Who could wait for 100,000 years? At that time, it was unknown whether the Bubbly clan still existed. In the Thor Dragon's opinion, killing He was perfectly normal. He wanted to kill Lin Yi, so Lin Yi killed him instead. There was nothing wrong with that. Mr. Lin, aren't you going to personally kill He? Thor Ryu felt a bit strange. If Lin Yi could seriously injure Thor Dragon, then he should have the strength to kill He. No, it's not good to make a move. Lin Yi waved his hand. It wasn't that he couldn't make a move. He could injure He, but killing him was hard to say. If Lin Yi released a big move and didn't kill He, then he wouldn't be able to use it immediately. It wouldn't be good if his flaws were seen through. Thus, it was better to let the Bubbly clan do it for him. Alright, I'll let Thor Dragon and Thor Shan make a move. They are peak late-stage heaven rank powerhouses, they should be able to get rid of He. Thor Ryu didn't say anything else. In his eyes, if Kang Mingming couldn't make a move, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to make a move either. Your Bubbly clan doesn't have any peak late-stage heaven rank powerhouses? Lin Yi asked after hearing that. There are, but do you need so many powerhouses to deal with He? Thor Ryu asked. This He is stronger than an ordinary peak late-stage heaven rank powerhouse, so I suggest that you attack him together. Bring your other son here, I'll heal him, then you can attack together, Lin Yi said. Thor Ryu was very moved after hearing Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi was really thinking about them, unlike Kang Mingming, who pretended to be courteous. Kong Ming Ming gave them a fake reminder. But not only did Linny remind them, but he also wanted to heal Tortu in advance. This meant that Linny was afraid that the Bubbly clan would suffer a loss and help them. Thank you, Mr. Lin! Rest assured, Mr. Lin, I'll immediately find someone to help Mr. Lin pack these energy stones. I'll also select some energy stones that have already been charged, Thor Ryu said. That's not necessary. I don't need to charge them. It's best if there aren't any. Linny waved his hand and said, Since we've discussed the conditions, it doesn't matter if I heal your son a step earlier. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Thor Ryu saw that Linny refused his good intentions, so he didn't force him. He nodded and went to find Tortu. Tortu was disheartened. Although he knew that his father got him a top-grade 4th-grade great rejuvenating pill from Kong Ming Ming, but to be honest, was it that easy to refine a top-grade 4th-grade great rejuvenating pill? Kong Ming Ming agreed, but he didn't know when he would be able to refine it. Tortu didn't think that he would be so unlucky. Not only did he fail to kill Linny, but he was also crippled. However, when Thor Ryu pushed the door and entered Tortu's room, Tortu suddenly froze. Father, your strength! Thor Ryu didn't hide his strength, so Tortu could easily feel that Thor Ryu's strength was at the late stage of heaven rank. This made him very shocked. Your strength has recovered? Kong Ming Ming gave you the pill? It's not Kong Ming Ming, it's Linny! Thor Ryu sighed and told Tortu about what happened before. After Tortu heard it, a glimmer of hope flashed in his eyes. If it was before, he definitely wouldn't believe that Linny had such a magical ability to heal other people's injuries. But now that his father was standing in front of him, Tortu couldn't help but believe it. Can I also recover? Tortu didn't expect happiness to come so quickly. Chapter 3356. Don't worry, father. I don't have any enmity with him. All of this was caused by Kong Ming Ming. After I recover, I'll directly deal with Kong Ming Ming, Tortu said hatefully. Tortu and Linny arrived at Lin Yi's resting room. Linny didn't say any nonsense and directly started healing Tortu. Thor Ryu and Thor Dragon stood on the side to protect him. When they saw that Tortu had recovered to his peak late-stage heaven rank, they cried tears of joy. These past few days had been spent in darkness for the Bubbly clan, and now, they'd finally welcomed the light. Knowing how to repay kindness, Thor Ryu didn't rest. Instead, he took Thor Dragon, Thor Shan, Tortu, and the 2 elders of the Bubbly clan to He and Kong Ming Ming's room. When Kong Xiaoming opened the door, he saw a large group of people standing in front of the door. He was puzzled. Old master, you came here. Why did you bring so many people? What are you doing in such a grand manner? Haha, nothing. Thor Ryu faintly smiled and stepped into Kong Ming Ming's room. The 5 people behind him also rushed in. No! Your strength! Kong Ming Ming suddenly pointed at Thor Ryu and exclaimed, How come you aren't a cripple anymore? Surprised? There is something even more surprising! Attack! Thor Ryu suddenly shouted. As he spoke, his figure flickered slightly, and the 5 people behind him charged straight at Little One. Little One's pupils slightly shrank. He hadn't expected the Bubbly clan to attack them, but he quickly reacted and put up a defense. But what made him helpless was that the 5 people in front of him were actually at the peak of the late stage of the Heaven Realm. If he was facing a peak late stage Heaven rank expert, he might be able to win. After all, he was from the 5 Elements sect. His strength was stronger than other cultivators of the same rank. But now, with 5 people attacking together, no matter how strong he wasn't their match. Let's talk this out. Little One retreated. Under the combined attack of these 5 people, he had no confidence in surviving. However, Tol Dragon, Tol Shan, Tol Tu, and the 2 elders didn't intend to explain or stop. The 5 of them simultaneously activated their incantations, drew out a magical weapon that seemed to be made of the bones of some wild beast, and smashed it towards Little One at the same time. The Bubbly clan's weapon was the bone of a type of spirit beast, and it was slightly different from the ones used in the cultivation world of the Central Plains. Of course, this was related to their clan. Let alone using a heaven-ranked divine weapon, even if he didn't use it, Little One wouldn't be a match for Lin Yi. After Little One's divine weapon was taken away by Lin Yi still hadn't returned it. The current situation caused Little One to want to cry. Lin Yi wanted to kill him. Furthermore, they were all ruthless moves, catching Little One off guard. Although he had true chi protecting his body, with 5 top-notch experts attacking him at the same time, no matter how he defended, he would still die. There was no hope of survival. Therefore, Little One was anxious. He gritted his teeth. Even if he had to die, he had to drag someone down with him. Boom! The 5 experts of the Bubbly clan hit He at the same time, and the bone weapon smashed into He's body with a loud bang. And in the instant that Little One was hit, he also moved. He suddenly activated his strongest martial technique, the 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist, and directly attacked Toll Dragon, who was at the forefront. Even if I die, I'll drag someone down with me. Little One's expression was fierce. He never thought that he would die here, but since he couldn't live, he would drag someone down with him with his last breath. Toll Shan attacked with all his strength. He didn't expect that he could still struggle under the joint attack of several people. Although he quickly activated his incantations and used true chi to protect his body, it was already too late. Moreover, He's 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist was one of the strongest moves of the 5 Elements sect, second only to the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm. However, the higher the level of the cultivator of the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm, the disadvantages of the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm became apparent. He only had 10 moves, so an Earth-grade cultivator could use it, but a Heaven-grade cultivator would have no advantage. The 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist was different, but at the Earth grade, it wasn't as powerful as the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm. Of course, this was also referring to the current 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist. The current 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist was actually an incomplete martial technique. Originally, only those who possessed the 5 elements could cultivate it. Just like the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm, all attributes had to be fused together in order to display the greatest power. However, although the 5 Elements sect was called the 5 Elements sect, how many people possessed the 5 elements? It was no wonder that Patriarch Xianxin valued Taganlong and Tian Chan so much. In the past, there was a talented senior in the 5 Elements sect who modified the 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist into one of the 5 elements. Any single attribute could be activated and used, but its power was greatly weakened. However, it was still much stronger than ordinary martial techniques. It was just that every time it was activated, it would drain all the physical strength and true energy in the body. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, Little Yu would not use it. Now, he was definitely going to die, so there was no need to leave any way out for himself. The original 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist was very powerful, even more powerful than the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm. However, it had been lost. After the senior took away the 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist to modify, he took the original 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist's mantra and went into seclusion. He wanted to perfect his modified 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist and see if it could become a martial technique that could be activated by cultivators with 2 or 3 attributes. However, that senior never came out of his closed-door cultivation. Instead, he went berserk when he was modifying the secret manual, causing his body to explode. Even the original version of the 5 Elements 8 Trigrams Palm secret manual was destroyed. From then on, this martial arts technique was lost. Otherwise, Patriarch Xianxin would definitely let Taganlong and Tian Chan practice the original 5 Elements Reincarnation Fist. Boom! The Thor dragon was sent flying by He's critical strike before he died. He crashed into the door and directly broke it. Then, he fell into the corridor, bleeding from all 7 orifices. It was obvious that he had suffered a very serious internal injury. He laughed out loud and collapsed on the spot. Satisfied, he rushed to the underworld. As for Kang Mingming, he was scared silly. He didn't know what had happened. Why did Thor Dragon Sun and Moon get someone to kill he as soon as he entered the door? I didn't provoke him. He hid at the side, shivering, not knowing what to do. Chapter 3357. Final Volume, Volume 10, Path of Heaven. Seeing the dying Thor Dragon on the ground, Thor Remoon quickly took out a jade bottle, took out a level 3 Great Restoring Pill and put it into Thor Dragon's mouth. After taking the Great Restoring Pill, Thor Dragon's complexion improved slightly, but his injuries didn't recover. He can only say that he won't die for a while. Father! I can't do it! I didn't expect he to use such a move before he died. Don't worry too much, Thor Dragon. Hold on, Mr. Lin can save you, Thor Remoon said anxiously. My injuries are too serious. Thor Dragon smiled bitterly. And why would Mr. Lin save me? Thor Dragon's words stunned Thor Remoon. Then he remembered that he made a deal with Lin Yi. Lin Yi healed his and Tortu's injuries in order to kill he in exchange for wasted energy stones. Now that Thor Dragon is here, will Lin Yi save him? However, no matter what, Thor Remoon still wants to try. He picked up Thor Dragon and said to the two elders of Bubbly Clan, Thor Elder, Thor Jr., look after Kong Ming Ming, don't let him escape. Yes. The two elders nodded. Thor Shan, Tortu, come with me, Thor Remoon said and quickly ran to Lin Yi's room. A sudden knock on the door made Lin Yi slightly stunned. He opened the door and saw Thor Remoon holding Thor Dragon. This surprised Lin Yi. Old Patriarch, Mr. Thor Dragon is... Mr. Lin, Thor Dragon was seriously injured by He Yi's last attack. I hope Mr. Lin can help, Thor Remoon said. Oh? Lin Yi looked at Thor Dragon. Although Thor Dragon's injury is serious, it should be controlled by the elixir. He won't die for a while. However, Lin Yi didn't agree immediately. Instead, he said, Old Patriarch, do you think that I don't need to pay the price for healing others? Healing you and Tortu cost me a lot of stamina and true chi, and my strength level almost dropped. This? Thor Remoon just remembered that Lin Yi used chi to heal others. It's no wonder. How much chi can a cultivator have? How precious was their physical strength and true chi? Otherwise, energy stones wouldn't be priceless. Lin Yi had to pay a price as well, so Thor Sun and Moon asking Lin Yi to heal the Thor Dragon was a bit too shameless. Of course, it's not that Lin Yi is deliberately making things difficult for them, it's because Lin Yi and the Bubbly Clan only have a business relationship. If the Bubbly Clan didn't do anything to him at the beginning and imprisoned him in the dungeon, then Lin Yi will do them a favor. But now, the Bubbly Clan first cooperated with Kong Ming Ming, seeing that Lin Yi is strong, then they cooperated with Lin Yi, so the Bubbly Clan's position in Lin Yi's heart fell, and Lin Yi won't be so sincere to them. Sometimes, it's necessary to be careful. Mr. Lin, if you save Thor Dragon, what's the price? Thor Remoon is not stupid. Since he made 2 deals with Lin Yi, he might as well make another one. He has already been killed by us. Killing He was originally the condition we agreed on. Lin Yi shook his head faintly. If I save him, the loss of true chi is too much. We can use 10 full energy stones in exchange. Thor Remoon hesitated for a moment and said, I don't need full energy stones. Lin Yi refused. Do you have anything else? Then, there are things like medicinal pills. Mr. Lin probably doesn't need them. Thor Ryu suddenly thought of something when he said this. Didn't Lin Yi say before that Kong Ming Ming still owes Lin Yi a chi-gathering pill? Does Lin Yi need this chi-gathering pill? If that's the case, thinking of this, Thor Remoon quickly said, Our Bubbly Clan still has a chi-gathering pill. I don't know if Mr. Lin needs it. Chi-gathering pill is not very useful for the Bubbly Clan. They have a lot of energy stones to cultivate. They don't need a chi-gathering pill at all. Originally, they exchanged a few chi-gathering pills, so they didn't continue to exchange. Now they only have one left. Chi-gathering pill? Lin Yi raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect the Bubbly Clan to have such a thing, so he slowly nodded and said, Chi-gathering pill is fine, but you should also know that the value of a 3rd-level pill is not enough for me to take action. I understand that, Mr. Lin. Our Powley clan will engrave your kindness in our hearts. Consider it as our Bubbly clan owes Mr. Lin a favor. If Mr. Lin needs anything in the future, as long as our Bubbly clan can do it, we will definitely do it," Thor Remoon said. "Good, you protect Thor Dragon," Linny said. He reached out and buckled Thor Dragon's pulse, then started to circulate the art of dragon mastery. Although Linny took action because of the chi-gathering pill, after all, the Bubbly clan hasn't taken out the chi-gathering pill yet. Linny has already taken action. This made Thor Remoon very grateful. Although Linny's words are complicated, treating Thor Dragon is really a piece of cake. After Thor Dragon recovered, Linny loosened his hand and said, "It's done." Thor Remoon was about to ask Thor Dragon how he feels, but Thor Dragon suddenly jumped up and bowed deeply in front of Linny. Then he cupped his fist and said, "Thank you, Mr. Lin, for saving my life. This one will never forget it. From now on, Thor Dragon's life belongs to Mr. Lin. The Bubbly clan owes Mr. Lin a favor. I, Thor Dragon, will follow Mr. Lin's lead." Thor Remoon looked at his eldest son. In the end, he didn't say anything. He understood his eldest son's character. He is a person who knows how to repay kindness. He also knows that the value of a chi-gathering pill is not enough to exchange for his life. To be honest, if the Bubbly clan wanted, a chi-gathering pill and an energy stone would be enough. They wouldn't even need 10 energy stones. However, Linny didn't ask for 10 energy stones. Instead, he asked for a chi-gathering pill. This shows that Linny might need this thing, so he gave it to the Bubbly clan without much trouble. Hee, how is Kong Ming Ming? Linny doesn't need Thor Dragon for the time being. He is far away in the foreign land, far away from Linny. Distant water can't put out a nearby fire, so Linny doesn't need him to do anything for the time being. Chapter 3358. Update. Fishman's new book, Best Cultivator, has been released. You can click on Fishman 2's author's name on the Chidien page to enter it. Please vote for the new book. Let him go. Linny thought for a moment, and said, even if he has chi-gathering pills, he intends to let Kong Ming Ming go. Even if Linny doesn't need chi-gathering pills, he still has Han Jingjing and others. Oh, okay. Although Linny wondered why Linny wanted to let Kong Ming Ming go, since Linny has decided, he didn't ask much. He ordered Torter to find chi-gathering pills for Linny. Thor went to release Kong Ming Ming, while he and Thor Dragon sat in Linny's room and talked to Linny. This time, I'm afraid I can't take all the energy stones back. My car can't fit them, Linny said. Let's leave them here for the time being. I will come back to get them when I have time. Ah, Mr. Lin, are you leaving? After listening to Linny's words, Thor Ryu was shocked. Yeah, there are still a lot of things to do at home. I have achieved my purpose of coming here this time, so I have to go back, Linny said. If there's anything you need, you can call me or come find me. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Linny was very moved. Linny's words are equivalent to a promise. In the future, if someone in the Bubbly family has their meridian severed, it is estimated that Lin Yi will not sit idly by. Perhaps Thor Dragon's attitude moved Lin Yi. In short, Lin Yi can be regarded as a good karma. Kong Ming Ming was released, and even his car was returned to him. They even helped him fill up the gas. This made Kong Ming a little puzzled. He didn't know what the Bubbly family wanted to do. Old Patriarch, what do you mean by this? You killed my senior brother, don't you want to cooperate with our Five Elements sect? In fact, Kong Ming Ming has vaguely guessed the gist of the matter. It is estimated that the Bubbly family is relying on Lin Yi. Didn't Thor Ryu and Torter recover from their injuries? Even Thor Dragon, who was beaten by Xiao Yi, became fine. If Kong Ming Ming still doesn't know what is going on, then he is really a fool. He was no longer the Kong Jiao Ming who ate dog shit. He'd matured in this period of time, and that was why he was puzzled. Why did Lin Yi let him go? Why did you let him go? Kong Ming Ming didn't say anything, he just retreated to the side. Just as Kong Ming Ming was about to say something, a familiar voice sounded. The owner of this voice was Lin Yi. Kong Ming Ming, you and I can be considered as old acquaintances. We can also be considered as fellow disciples. So this time, I will let you go. I hope you can refine the chi-gathering pill as soon as possible. Boss Lin Yi, thank you so much. Although Kong Mingming said so, he hated Lin Yi to the core. He thought, refining gathering chi pills? I'll refine an extreme chi gathering pill for you and eat you to death. I won't send you off. Send my regards to Patriarch Xianchen. Take Xiaoyi's corpse back. To be honest, I hate him. If you came by yourself, you might not have died. After Lin Yi finished speaking, he turned around and left. Kong Mingming knew about the grudge between Lin Yi and Xiaoyi. Xiaoyi once beat Lin Yi up like a dead dog. It was reasonable for Lin Yi to find an opportunity to kill Xiaoyi. However, since Lin Yi let him go, there was no need for Kong Ming to stay any longer. He got in the car and quickly drove away. 5 Elements Sect. These days, good things happened one after another for Patriarch Xianchen. There was good news from Kong Mingming that he had imprisoned Lin Yi. There was also good news from Dr. Benjamin too. The technical problems of the second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron had been solved. It had been replicated and could be put into mass production. At this moment, Kong Mingming called. Patriarch Xianchen picked up the phone. Zhao Ming, I was just about to look for you. I have good news for you. Father-in-law, I have bad news for you. Kong Mingming said with grief and indignation. Bad news? Patriarch Xianchen was stunned. His good mood instantly fell to the bottom. Then tell me first, the Bubbly clan changed sides at the last minute. They actually cooperated with Lin Yi. They killed eldest senior brother. Kong Mingming said with a bitter face. If it wasn't for Lin Yi counting on me to refine the chi-gathering pill for him, I'm afraid I would have been left there too. What? The Bubbly clan doesn't want the top-grade 4th-grade Great Recover pill anymore? Patriarch Xianchen was shocked. Lin Yi healed the injuries of Thor Ryu and Tor Tu. Lin Yi has a magical ability in this aspect. We learned about it before. Who knew that the Bubbly clan knew about it? In the end, Kong Mingming explained with a bitter smile. Then I understand. Patriarch Xianchen sighed after listening. He vaguely knew about Lin Yi's ability, but he didn't study it much. After all, a person could only cultivate a limited number of mantras. It was useless to study other things. Moreover, if Lin Yi could cultivate it, the people of 5 Elements Sect might not be able to cultivate it. Otherwise, there would be no need for Taganlong. Come back quickly. It's good that you're fine. Otherwise, little 11th will be a widow. He will have a hard life. I'm on my way back. By the way, father-in-law, what is the good news you mentioned before? Kong Mingming suddenly thought of the good news that Patriarch Xianchen had mentioned before. Good news. I'm not in the mood to talk about it now. Actually, it's like this. Patriarch Xianchen said. Elder Xianchen said. Professor Benjamin too has already cracked Lin Yi's 2nd-grade automatic medicine cauldron. We can now mass-produce it. That's great. We can't kill Lin Yi for the time being. We can attack Lin Yi from this aspect. Kong Mingming was immediately full of morale when he heard this. And I think so too. We can only do this for the time being. Patriarch Xianchen said helplessly. By the way, father-in-law, actually, Little First's death is not necessarily a bad thing. Kong Mingming suddenly said. Oh? What do you mean? Patriarch Xianchen was a little stunned. You mean because of Little 11th? Previously, Little First also liked Little 11th. That was why Patriarch Xianchen had such a guess. After all, if the two of them were to look into it, they could be regarded as love rivals. Chapter 3359. Zhao Ming, what you said makes a lot of sense. Patriarch Xianchen didn't think so much before. Now that he heard Kong Mingming's analysis, he felt that it was really the case. Lin Yi didn't have the ability to kill a peak late-stage heaven-stage great perfection expert. This was good news. At least, Lin Yi wasn't invincible. After hearing this news, Patriarch Xianchen was relieved. As long as Lin Yi wasn't invincible, then there was a way to deal with Lin Yi. So I think that we should hurry up and refine that pill. Let Lin Yi eat it and die, hee hee, Kong Ming suggested. And after you come back, you will carry out this matter, Patriarch Xianqian said. Patriarch Xianqian hung up the phone and sighed slightly. Then, he shouted to the door. Little waiter, come in for a while. Master, are you looking for me? After a while, little waiter pushed the door and walked in. Your eldest senior brother, Little Yi, has fallen. Now you are the eldest among our 5 Elements sect brothers. You have to shoulder this responsibility. Patriarch Xianqian sighed. Ah? When did this happen? Little waiter was shocked. Today, Patriarch Xianqian said. That's not right? The disciple who was in charge of cleaning the Soul Jade Token room just reported to me. Everything was normal. Eldest senior brother's Soul Jade Token didn't shatter. Little waiter said strangely. Master, is this news accurate? It was sent back by Kong Ming. It can't be wrong. Patriarch Xianqian was also stunned. Get someone to bring Little Yi's Soul Jade Token to me immediately. Yes. Little waiter didn't dare to delay. He quickly nodded and went to prepare. After a while, little waiter quickly came to Patriarch Xianqian's room with Little Yi's Soul Jade Token. However, his expression was a little strange. You brought it? Let me see, Patriarch Xianqian said eagerly. Master, first senior brother's Soul Jade tablet isn't shattered, but there's a crack on it. If you don't look closely, you won't be able to tell. I only noticed it when I took it. What does it mean? The waiter respectfully handed Little Yi's Soul Jade tablet to Patriarch Xianqian. This? Patriarch Xianqian took the Soul Jade tablet and was a little dumbfounded. This was a secret technique of the 5 Elements sect that had been passed down for thousands of years. However, if it was broken, then it was broken. If a person died, then the Soul Jade tablet would also shatter. There was no suspense about this. Patriarch Xianqian had never seen such a situation where the Soul Jade tablet was cracked but not broken. Did this mean that the person was dead or alive? Or not completely dead? What did that mean? Patriarch Black Earth was also a little confused. All right, you can leave first. I'll study it myself. Patriarch Xianqian frowned. After the waiter left, he called Kong Ming again. Zhao Ming, where are you? Are you sure your eldest senior brother is dead? Where is his body? Patriarch Xianqian asked anxiously. I'm on the way back. I'm sure he's dead. I saw him being beaten to death with my own eyes. As for his body, it's in the trunk of my car, Kong Ming said. Then stop the car immediately and check on Little Yi's situation. Is he still alive and can be saved? Patriarch Xianqian immediately ordered. Okay, I'll go take a look now. Kong Ming followed Patriarch Xianqian's instructions and parked the car. Then, he got out of the car and opened the trunk. However, when he opened it, Kong Ming was shocked. He almost sat on the ground. Dumbfounded, he stared at the trunk of the car, speechless. Zhao Ming, what's wrong with you? Did you see it? Patriarch Xianqian asked anxiously. Father-in-law, eldest senior brother's body is gone. Kong Ming exclaimed in horror. What? Gone? What do you mean? You lost it? Patriarch Xianqian frowned. No, I saw the Paoli clan put the body in the car with my own eyes. I didn't stop the car along the way, and I didn't open the trunk door. But eldest senior brother's body just disappeared into thin air. Kong Ming was scared out of his wits at the moment. He wasn't afraid of dead people, but he was afraid of supernatural things. Wasn't this too scary? How about this? Go back the way you came, and see if you dropped it on the road. Patriarch Xianqian was also confused by Kong Ming's words. This person's body could suddenly disappear? Okay. Although Kong Ming was afraid, he had to bite the bullet and turn the car around. This matter was too mysterious. How could the body disappear just like that? And, call me immediately after you find it. Patriarch Xianqian also felt that this matter was really unusual. Wasn't this too unexpected? Lin Yi filled the back of the jeep with energy stones and left under the cheers of the Paoli clan. Deku, do you still want to go back to your old home? Lin Yi asked Deku, who was driving. No need, we've taken everything we need. Let's go back quickly. Mr. Lin, you have something important to do, right? Deku shook his head. Then let's go back directly. Lin Yi didn't hesitate. He really did want to go back as soon as possible and cure Sun Yan's body. After some hesitation, Lin Yi took out the chi-gathering pill from the Paoli clan and gave it to Xiaoka. Xiaoka, we'll find a place later. I'll raise your strength to Earth class late phase peak, and then you can use this pill to ascend to Sky class. Ah? Xiaoka froze at Lin Yi's action. I'll use the chi-gathering pill? Ascend to Sky class? Even if you're a male thief, you don't have to be this nice to me. You need to raise your strength right now, so you should use it yourself. Earth class late phase peak is already very good for me, you don't have to be Sky class. Xiaoka, you misunderstand. I'm not being nice to you without limits. You can help me if you reach Sky class. This was the result of Lin Yi's careful consideration. Xiaoka, my attacks aren't weak anymore. Even if I can't kill someone at Sky class late phase peak, I can still hurt them. My defense is a lot weaker though. If I'd been hit by Tortu earlier, we'd all be dead by now. If you could provide me with defense then, we'd be in an invincible position. I'll have a lot of enemies in the future, so you can stay by my side and provide me with defense after you reach Sky class. I'm being a bit selfish. Chapter 3360. Xiaoka felt that Lin Yi's words made sense. If she had the ability, why wouldn't she help Lin Yi? Especially after knowing that Lin Yi was the male thief, Xiaoka had no reason to reject him. But Xiaoka was hesitant to stay by Lin Yi's side all the time. I want to stay with you, but I can't let go of the orphanage. The orphanage is on the right track, and there won't be any shortage of funds anymore. So you have to let go when it's time. Let Ken and the others manage it. You can't stay with the orphanage forever, Lin Yi said. Since you practice your family's secret art, naturally, there would be more difficult challenges. That's right. The orphanage is on the right track. In the past, I could manage the small orphanage in an orderly manner. But now, the orphanage has more and more ancillary welfare industries, and my ability is a little stretched. That's right. I didn't go to school, and I'm not as cultured as Ken and the others. They're learning business management now. Our orphanage may be a welfare organization, but we can't accept donations endlessly. We need to set up a foundation and make money ourselves. This is the future direction of the orphanage, and my sneaky ways are no longer suitable. Xiaoka laughed at herself. She suddenly felt that she couldn't help much with the construction of the orphanage anymore. Or, her dream had come true, and she had nothing to worry about now. You can't say that. You've contributed a lot. At least, without you, the orphanage wouldn't exist. Without you, I wouldn't have invested in the orphanage, so I suggested to Fatty Lai that you guys set up a foundation to call it Xiaoka Foundation. Lin Yi smiled. I don't think that's a good idea. Xiaoka was shocked. Haha, it's decided then. I think it's good. Lin Yi waved his hand and changed the topic. He turned to Deku and said, Deku, stop the car, I'll help you Xiaoka increase her strength. Although Lin Yi didn't think that there would be any danger on the way back, it was better to be safe than sorry. Since Yoshioka could reach Sky Class now, he'd help her reach Sky Class first. If they met any masters, Lin Yi would be able to deal with them easily. In the past, Shioka had imagined that the orphanage wouldn't need the money she stole anymore. She imagined that Ken and the kids would grow up. She imagined that she would meet her own family one day, and she imagined that she would be with the male thief one day, but he had never imagined that he could become a heaven-rank expert. How unreachable was that? If her master wasn't, how could she be? But now, she had really become a heaven-rank initial stage expert, and in just a few hours, she had completed such a magnificent transformation. Although it was very painful to break through from Earth class late phase peak to Sky class early phase, the moment she became a Sky class expert, it was as easy as being reborn. Xiaoke was very happy. Happy that she could help Lin Yi in the future and become Lin Yi's helper. Happy that she was also a Sky class expert and could maintain her youth forever. She didn't have to worry about aging before Lin Yi. Xiaoke, let's test it, Lin Yi said and turned to Deku. Deku, attack me with all your strength, and then I'll use Niwa Sky Mending Art to defend. I'll see the effect. Ah? This is my first time using it. I may be a Sky class early phase expert, but I've never used it before. What if it doesn't work? Wouldn't you be injured? Xiaoke was shocked. It's okay. With Deku's strength, it's not enough to hurt me. Lin Yi waved his hand. Deku, attack with all your strength. I'm ready. Okay. Deku knew Lin Yi's strength. During the Hidden House Summit, Lin Yi was very strong. He was almost killed, but Lin Yi was fine. It was enough to show that Lin Yi wasn't bragging. He had real strength. Among them, Xiaoke was the most nervous. She didn't have any confidence in herself. She was like a beginner when it came to spiritual practicing. She couldn't guarantee that she would succeed. Mr. Lin, I'm coming! Udake took a deep breath and started channeling his practitioner's arts, activating the strongest move he could muster. Of course, this strongest move was very normal in Lin Yi's eyes. The techniques he'd come into contact with were all very strong, and his enemies were all strong people like Zhang Nipeil and Xiao Yi. No matter how strong Udake was, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Lin Yi. Plus, he was an Earth class, and his techniques weren't that strong. Boom dash! Deku's fists turned into palms, attacking Lin Yi's chest with all his strength. He didn't hesitate at all. This was also because he trusted Lin Yi. He knew that his moves wouldn't cause too much damage to Lin Yi. Xiaoke was channeling the Niwa Sky Mending Arts chant, and seeing her brother's attack, she quickly channeled it with all her might. Her hands kept moving, drawing a beautiful afterimage in the air. It was as if she was weaving a huge net, and the energy was released from her hands all of a sudden. A big net made of pure energy instantly blocked in front of her and Lin Yi. Deku's attack came at the same time. He attacked Lin Yi with his palms, but it hit the big net in front of him. There was a loud bang, but he suddenly stopped in front of the net. This big net was like a wall, blocking his attack. The big net shook twice, but it didn't break. Xiaoke was a Sky class now, and the art she channeled with all her strength wasn't something an Earth class could break. Deku didn't stop. He started channeling his arts again, but the result was the same. His palms hit the big net again, but it didn't hurt Lin Yi at all. Amazing! Lin Yi nodded, signaling Deku and Xiaoke to stop. Xiaoke, this arts of yours is as powerful as the legends say. In the future, when you're with Mr. Lin, you'll be invincible. One attack, one defense, you'll kill whoever you see. Deku shouted in surprise. The Fishman's new book was published. It was called Ultimate Cultivation Young Master. Everyone, please collect it and recommend it. There was a direct train in the School Beauties book. Chapter 3361. Instant kill anyone I see? Doesn't that sound really strong? Xiaoke didn't think that she could help Lin Yi. Yeah, I thought of the legend of the martial arts world, the twin killers of King Kong. Right, Mr. Lin, you're pretty much the same as them now. Huh? Xiaoke, what's wrong? Udake was excited when he realized that Xiaoke's face was extremely pale. She was swaying as if she was about to fall on the ground. This made Udake jump in fright. Xiaoke only managed to say, before falling on the ground with a thud. Lin Yi was shocked as well. There was still Wang Xinyan who fainted at home. He hoped that Xiaoke didn't have some weird illness or else she wouldn't have fainted. Lin Yi quickly put his hand on Xiaoke's wrist to check her pulse, checking her body's condition. After checking, Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. Xiaoke's body was fine. She just used up too much energy and fainted. Lin Yi used the art of dragon mastery to replenish Xiaoke's energy. After a while, Shioka woke up. Shioka, how do you feel? Udake saw that Shioka woke up and sighed in relief. It's nothing. I just felt really tired and fainted. Shioka shook her head. Xiaoku's mantra, the higher the level of defense and the longer it takes, the more physical strength and true energy it consumes. Previously, I'm afraid Xiaoku used the mantra according to the highest level of defense she could display, right? Linny had a rough guess. Xiaoku's practitioner's arts weren't hard to understand. The higher the defense, the more energy Xiaoka had to expend. This was common sense, just like Lin Yi's Fire 8 trigram palms. Xiaoka fainted when she used up all her energy. Yes, I was afraid of hurting you. Xiaoka nodded. Lin Yi, you can still transfer energy to me? Doesn't that mean I can keep using my defense? Yes. Lin Yi nodded and said. However, in battle, we will have to face enemies at any time, so it will be difficult for us to have the time to replenish your physical strength and true energy, unless it is a group battle. That's true. Xiaoka nodded. It seems like I still need to work hard. Work hard. Even if you work hard now, you won't be able to absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Your meridians have already accepted the pure energy from me and the qi-gathering pill. They have already developed antibodies against this kind of thin spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Lin Yi smiled bitterly as he shook his head. If you want to improve further, you'll have to continue using qi-amassing pills, or wait for me to step into the heavenly way. It's just that the heavenly way is a realm of nothingness. I don't know when I'll be able to enter the heavenly way, and it's hard to say whether the realm of the heavenly way exists or not. Don't we still have energy stones? I can use energy stones to train myself. Xiaoka said optimistically. That's right, how could I forget about energy stones? Lin Yi took out 2 energy stones from the jade space. What surprised Lin Yi was that these 2 stones were fully charged. It had only been a few days, but they were already fully charged. It seemed like the jade space's charging speed was very fast. Perhaps it wouldn't even take a few days. Lin Yi didn't check it before. Dake, you're already in Earth class late phase peak now. Without the qi-gathering pill, I can't help you increase your strength. These 2 energy stones, you and Xiaoka each take 1. Use it for your own training, and when you're done, come find me to exchange. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Dake took the energy stones gratefully. He didn't reject it, because he understood Lin Yi. He could only remember this kindness in his heart. We're family, so let's not talk too much. Since I've made my relationship with Xiaoka clear, then you're also my big brother. Lin Yi smiled. I wouldn't dare to accept that. Mr. Lin is my savior. Dake shook his head. Haha, it's up to you. It's just a title. Lin Yi waved his hand nonchalantly. Dake, how about this? You and Xiaoka can stay in the villa when you get back. You'll be my helper. All right, Mr. Lin. I'll listen to your arrangements. Dake nodded. In his heart, Lin Yi's kindness to him was something that he couldn't repay in this lifetime. He had to repay this kindness. After the test, Lin Yi prepared to get in the car. But just as the 3 of them got in, they saw Kang Mingming's car coming back. Lin Yi frowned. What was this kid coming back for? Whoosh! Lin Yi appeared in front of Kang Mingming's car and stopped it. Oh my God, you scared me to death! Kang Mingming suddenly braked. Otherwise, he would almost hit Lin Yi. He wasn't afraid of killing Lin Yi. He was afraid that Lin Yi would kill him. With Lin Yi's strength level, he could directly smash his car into a pile of scrap iron. He was also an alchemist. If his defense was not good, he might die. Boss Lin Yi, what are you doing? Don't you know that you almost killed me? If I die, who will refine pills for you? Why are you back? Lin Yi ignored Kang Mingming. With his reaction speed of Heaven's stage, it was easy to stop the car in an instant. If they really hit, it could only be said that Kang Mingming was unlucky, so he asked directly. Don't mention it. Little Yi's body is gone. I'll see if it fell somewhere. I'll go back and look for it. Kang Mingming said with a face full of bad luck. The body is gone? Linny closed his eyes and used his perception to sense Kong Ming Ming's car. There wasn't little Yi's body inside. Kong Ming Ming wasn't lying. Yeah, that's it. I'll go back and look for it. Bye. Kong Ming Ming naturally didn't want to tell Linny the specific reason. This was an internal matter of their sect. There was no need to tell Linny. Oh, go look for it then. Linny nodded and got in the car. He didn't care about Kong Ming Ming. He could do whatever he wanted. Even if he went back to the bubbly family, they wouldn't betray him. On the way back, there were no accidents. Shioka's defense didn't need to be used, but what surprised Linny was that he received a call from the hidden House Yu. The call was from Yu Xing, the old ancestor of House Yu. Elder Yu, hello? Linny picked up the phone, confused. Actually, with Lin Yi's current strength, there was no need to respect Yu Xing at all. Plus, Yu Xing didn't have a good attitude towards him in the past, even looking for trouble. Chapter 3362. But in any case, Yu Xing was Yuning's grandfather. Linny didn't want Yuning to be sad, so he maintained enough respect for Yu Xing. Young hero Lin, do you have time? Can you come to the hidden house Yu? I have something to discuss with you. Yu Xing sighed in his heart. He didn't want to have anything to do with Lin Yi, but he couldn't avoid Lin Yi. Especially with Lin Yi's current strength, he almost stood at the peak of the training world. Even in the ancient level, there were only a few who dared to challenge Lin Yi. Even Yu Xing's backer was having an ambiguous attitude right now. Yu Xing had no choice but to face Lin Yi head-on. What he was about to do next was impossible to let Lin Yi go. If Lin Yi didn't agree, then everything would be for naught. Oh? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He didn't expect Yu Xing to invite him to discuss something. But Lin Yi was eager to return home. He wanted to give the energy stone to Wang Xinyan, so Lin Yi hesitated and said, Is it something important? Is it urgent? If it's not urgent, then I'll visit you after a while. How about it? It's about Xiaoning, Yu Xing said. Xiaoning? Lin Yi took a deep breath. He couldn't refuse Yu Xing's request. Although Wang Xinyan was unconscious, she wouldn't be in danger for a while. Who knew what would happen to Yuning? Yes, besides Xiaoning, there is another person who is related to you. She is Yushu. Yu Xing paused. I believe you probably know something about the relationship between House Yu and her. Okay, I'll go immediately after I get home. Lin Yi's heart was faintly aware of something. But what did this have to do with Yuning? He felt that Yushu should be going to Fiery Mountain soon. House Yu's call should be about this matter. But Yuning, did she have anything to do with this matter? At this thought, Lin Yi told Yudake to drive faster because the car had entered the Earth-level East Ocean City, and they would arrive at the mansion in half an hour. Lin Yi's car stopped in front of the villa, and Yushu and Han Jingjing walked out together. Jingjing? You're here too? Lin Yi was a little surprised. He didn't expect Han Jingjing to be in the villa. And there's something I want to tell Big Brother Lin Yi. There's nothing going on in the company recently, so I'll wait for Big Brother Lin Yi here. Han Jingjing said. Oh? What's the matter? Lin Yi asked. On Kong Mingming's side, they've already released a second-level automatic cauldron imitation into the market. Because our product has been discontinued, Kong Mingming's side still has good sales. Han Jingjing said. Of course, this is only the beginning. There won't be continuous sales in the future because the number of second-level alchemists is limited. According to the statistics of the Cultivator Trade Association, there are only about 40 to 50 of them. We've already sold 30, which means that Kong Mingming can sell at most another 30 before the market is saturated. And this is under the situation where some sects buy 2 to stock up. And, let's ignore him for now. Lin Yi knew that it would be impossible for Kong Xiaoming and Elder Xianxin not to come up with some countermeasure after dealing with them so ruthlessly. What are we going to do next? Han Jingjing asked. I've already got the energy stones, and we can launch a new first and second level automatic cauldron. Lin Yi said. However, the energy of the cauldron will be replaced by network replacement. Customers are not allowed to open the cauldron and take out the energy stones without permission. This requires an encryption measure. If customers open the cauldron and take out the energy stones without permission, they will lose all the subsequent warranty and maintenance rights of the cauldron. The purpose of Linny doing this was actually to prevent the energy stones from being removed and used for other purposes, such as cultivation. In this way, as long as the energy stones were forcibly taken out, the warranty and maintenance rights of the cauldron would be lost. This could only be done once. It was impossible to charge the cauldron. If he wanted more energy stones, he could only continue to spend a high price to buy a new cauldron. Otherwise, it would be impossible to use energy stones without energy to maintain the cauldron. Of course, the official price of replacing the energy stones wouldn't be cheap. Although Lin Yi's jade space could be charged, Lin Yi wasn't doing charity. Using this method to earn money was also a kind of development of the jade space. I understand Lin Yi bro's meaning. This energy stone can only be used to provide energy for the cauldron. It can't be used for cultivation. If it's discovered, we'll cancel the subsequent warranty and maintenance rights. Han Jingjing nodded and said, "Actually, this is also very easy to achieve. When the first and second grade automatic medicine cauldrons are refining pills, we can also use the server verification method. Each time, the server will record the remaining energy of the energy stone. If the energy stone doesn't match with the energy recorded previously, the first and second grade automatic medicine cauldrons will be stopped and their maintenance rights will be cancelled." "Okay, you can do as you see fit." Lin Yi nodded and suddenly took out a large amount of energy stones from the jade space in front of Yushu. Yu Daik and Xiaoka had seen his ability, but Yushu and Han Jingjing didn't know. Lin Yi didn't want to hide it from them. Seeing so many energy stones appear out of nowhere on the ground, Han Jingjing and Yushu jumped in shock. "Shield bro, where did these energy stones come from? Holy shit, did you make them?" Yushu's eyes widened as she looked at the energy stones on the ground. Han Jingjing was also very surprised and looked at Lin Yi strangely. "I have a way of storing things. There's nothing special about it," Lin Yi said. "Jingjing, these energy stones are all charged, and the ones in my car aren't. You can take these charged ones and study them first. You can also sell them on the market. I have other things to do here, so I'll be out for a while. I'll be back in a few days." Lin Yi felt a little apologetic. After all, Han Jingjing had waited for him for a few days and he left as soon as he came back. However, this involved Yuning and Yushu. Lin Yi didn't dare to delay. "Shield bro, where are you going?" Yushu asked. "You haven't told Shu what's so fun about the Hakunamata Desert?" Chapter 3363. In fact, Lin Yi could guess that it wasn't a good thing to look for him on a rainy day, and it was about Yushu. If that was the case, then Yushu wouldn't be far away. And when he came back, would Yushu be leaving already? Then he would still have time to tell her about his experience in the Hakunamata Desert. It wasn't something that could be explained in a few words. But Lin Yi couldn't tell Yushu about it. She was a girl with a lot on her mind, and Lin Yi wanted her to be happy during her last days at home. He didn't want the stress and worry about the future to affect her life. This might be Shu's last days in the villa. There were some things Lin Yi could stop, but there were some things Lin Yi couldn't stop. Meng Yao and the others were already on this path, and Yushu was on this path as well. It was the best choice they could make. "Shioka, Daik, come with me," Lin Yi said to them. "Okay, Mr. Lin." Daik didn't mind. Now that he had left the hidden house, he would go wherever Lin Yi wanted him to go. As for Shioka, after knowing that Lin Yi was the male thief, she wanted to be with Lin Yi all the time. After getting in the car, Lin Yi sighed helplessly. Daik could tell that Lin Yi wasn't in a good mood. "Mr. Lin, is there something bad about this trip to the hidden house you?" "Maybe." Lin Yi didn't know for sure, but it was a type of intuition. It was very likely. When getting in the car, Lin Yi put all the energy stones in the back of the car into the jade space. The energy stones from before were enough for Han Jingjing to make the first and second level cauldrons and sell them. These energy stones could be used as replacements, and there was no need to give them to Han Jingjing in a hurry. When Lin Yi came back, he would give them to Han Jingjing. Yu Dake had been a disciple of the Hidden House Yu for a long time, and he was very familiar with the matters of the Hidden Plane. He knew the address of the Hidden House Yu, so Lin Yi didn't say anything and Yu Dake quickly drove towards the Hidden House Yu. When they arrived at the Hidden House Yu's mountain gate, there were patrolling disciples who wanted to stop them, but when they saw Lin Yi sitting in the front passenger seat, they backed off immediately. Evidently, the disciples knew Lin Yi, and they had already received a hint from Yu Xing, so only when Lin Yi drove into the Hidden House's villa did a disciple walk up to him. But what surprised Lin Yi was that it was Yui, whom he had met once before. Yui stood in front of Lin Yi's car and said respectfully, "Young hero Lin, please get out, the head of the house has been waiting for a long time." Lin Yi gestured for Dake to stop the car, and he got out. Towards Yui, Lin Yi didn't know what he felt. Last time, Yui did help him, perhaps because of Yushu, but at least he did help him, so Lin Yi was still very polite to Yui. "Mr. Yui, please arrange for my friend, I will go with you to see Elder Yu." "Don't worry, young hero Lin, I will arrange for your friend, and I will hold a feast for them later." Yui smiled. Lin Yi nodded and said, "All right, then let's skip the formalities and go straight to Elder Yu." "All right, young hero Lin, please follow me." Yui nodded. This was the second time Lin Yi came to the Hidden House Yu. The first time, he was an uninvited guest, and the second time, he was invited. Both times, his attitude was different. The first time, he was afraid, and the second time, he was completely respectful. Yu Xing's residence was at the top of the mountain. Yui walked in front, and Lin Yi followed behind. This was the first time Lin Yi came to this mountain. The last time Lin Yi came here, although House Yu was very respectful, they didn't let him come to such a secret place. "The qi here is not bad, but it's not very abundant." Lin Yi followed behind Yui effortlessly, making Yui sigh inwardly. Things really weren't the same as before. Yui had seen Lin Yi when he first came to Songhan, but at that time, Lin Yi was only a golden class master. Yui didn't put him in his eyes at all. To him, Lin Yi was just a bodyguard hired by Pingzhan in the common world. He wasn't even at the level of a common noble house. How could the great steward of a hidden house, Yui, care about Lin Yi? But now, Lin Yi's achievements had completely surpassed the Hidden House Yu. It could be said that there was no one in the Hidden House that could challenge Lin Yi. Even the Hidden House's backer wouldn't be able to challenge Lin Yi. Haha, young hero Lin is very knowledgeable, but in the hidden world, the Hidden House Yu's qi is already the most abundant. Of course, it can't compare to the ancient world, Yui said with a smile, as if he had never wanted to kill Lin Yi. At Lin Yi's current level, he couldn't be bothered to lower himself to Yui's level. After all, House Yu was Yuning's house, and Lin Yi didn't want to make things too awkward with them. In the beginning, he was the one who destroyed the common House Yu. It was hard to say who was right and who was wrong. "I'm just a lone practitioner." Lin Yi smiled faintly. As they spoke, the two arrived at the peak of the back mountain, in front of a cave. Yui brought Lin Yi and opened the mechanism in front of the cave. He didn't intend to hide it from Lin Yi. Of course, if Lin Yi wanted to force his way in, the mechanism couldn't stop Lin Yi at all. From Yui's point of view, Lin Yi's strength was already at the pinnacle of the heavenly Tao. Some things were better to be open than defensive. "Yui, you're here?" Elder Yu's voice came from inside the cave. "Is young hero Lin here?" "Elder Yu, young hero Lin is here as well," Yui said. As soon as Yui's voice faded, footsteps came from the cave. Yui walked out of the cave quickly and smiled at Lin Yi. "Young hero Lin, you're here! You're giving me too much face." "Elder Yu, you're Yuning's grandpa. It's hypocritical of you to say something like this. If you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to pretend. You know my personality." Lin Yi shook his head and said directly. "All right, young hero Lin, please come in." Yui made a welcoming gesture and let Lin Yi into the cave. Chapter 3364. But this was Elder Yu's place, not a cave to hide things, so Lin Yi didn't think there was anything wrong with it. He didn't have the mood to care about these things either. He followed Elder Yu to a guest room, and Lin Yi sat on the sofa naturally. Yui, go pour some tea, Yu Yuxing said to Yui and sat opposite Lin Yi. Master Lin, this time I asked you to come, I actually wanted to get your support. My support? What do you mean? Lin Yi paused, not understanding what Yu Yuxing meant. Before, I didn't agree to the relationship between you and Yu Ning. In fact, it wasn't because I hated you and Yu Ning. That's why I did it. I had my own difficulties. Yu Yuxing sighed. I won't hide it from you. Yu Ning is a water inheritor. What? Lin Yi's eyes widened, and he stood up from the sofa. Although he knew that Yu Yuxing was looking for him because of the inheritor, it was about Yushu, not Yu Ning. Yu Ning was an inheritor too? And a water inheritor at that? Master Lin, I didn't mean to hide it, it's just that the people behind the hidden house you won't let me say it. Yu Yuxing had no choice. He couldn't offend the Five Elements sect, but he couldn't offend Lin Yi. Before, Yu Yuxing was counting on the Five Elements sect to help him deal with Lin Yi, but now that the Five Elements sect was keeping quiet, no one dared to touch Lin Yi. What could he do? Surviving in the cracks was the hardest, and he could only choose to compromise, not offend either side, and hope that Lin Yi would forgive him. It's the Five Elements sect, Elder Xianqin, Yu Yuxing said straightforwardly. The Hidden House You, the leader of the Hidden House, the leader of the Hidden House, suppressing the Alchemy House, the Hidden House of the Hidden House You. It's because of the Five Elements sect behind us. Without the support of the Five Elements sect, the Hidden House You wouldn't have the strength we have today. Five Elements sect? Lin Yi was surprised. No wonder the Hidden House You couldn't suppress the Hidden House You. With the support of the Sky Elixir School, they still weren't a match for the Hidden House You. It seemed like the Hidden House U's background was even more powerful. But I heard that it's because of the Hidden House You, which is Elder Yu and your father, that they found an ancient ruin back then and obtained some kind of legacy. That's how the Hidden House You came to be today. That was all made up by me. What ancient ruins? How can ancient ruins be so easy to find? Yu Yuxing smiled bitterly after hearing this and said, There are so many ancient families that haven't found an ancient relic. Can we find one? This is just a cover-up. So, because Five Elements sect and Yu Ning is the inheritor, you refuse to let me have a relationship with her? Lin Yi quickly thought of this. He was already the enemy of Five Elements sect. That's right, young hero Lin is wise. Yu Tianxing nodded and said, You should know that the inheritor must be a virgin. I'm afraid that something might happen, so I can't allow you to be with Yu Ning. However, Five Elements sect doesn't allow me to disclose the news that Yu Ning is the inheritor. Last time, I could only reject young hero Lin. I hope young hero Lin doesn't mind. I know about this. I also understand your difficulties. Lin Yi nodded slightly and forgave Yu Yuxing for hiding the truth from him last time. After all, this kind of thing was very important to Rock Candy. Then, why are you telling me the truth now? Cough. Yu Yuxing coughed and blushed. Young hero Lin, I'm being bullied now. Although Five Elements sect has a lot of restrictions on me, I can't afford to offend young hero Lin. Now Ancestor Xianqin doesn't dare to deal with you. If I hide anything from you, then when the time comes, our hidden house you will be in trouble. Without anyone to support us, won't we be finished? Ancestor Xianqin is dealing with me. It's just that you don't know about it. A few days ago, he just sent Little Yi to kill me. Lin Yi smiled and said, Then what? Yu Yuxing was stunned. He didn't know about this. It turned out that it wasn't that Ancestor Xianqin didn't care about him, but he secretly made a move. Little Yi is dead, Lin Yi said. Pfft. Yu Yuxing was stunned. Little Yi is dead? He subconsciously thought that Little Yi was killed by Lin Yi. Because other than Lin Yi, who would do it? Thinking of this, he was even more excited about the wise decision he made. If he didn't please Lin Yi today and sent Yu Ning and Yushu away, then Lin Yi would definitely explode, right? At that time, even the hidden house you wouldn't be enough for him to destroy. Let's get down to business. Lin Yi waved his hand and didn't want to dwell on this matter. Okay. Yu Yuxing nodded. As the inheritor, Xiaoning must go to the endless West Sea to receive the water inheritance. It's already arranged. There will be a foreign tantric master who will give up all his strength to help Xiaoning, forcefully increasing her strength to the peak of the late stage of heaven class. Tantric master? Is there any danger? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He didn't expect there to be such a secret technique that could help people level up. But thinking about it carefully, how different was this from the art of dragon mastery in the Jade Pendant space? It was just that after that person's strength was transferred, his strength would be gone, but he still had it. So thinking about it, it shouldn't be too dangerous. That's why Lin Yi wasn't too excited. There's no danger. If there is, it's the other party. Xiaoning won't cause any problems. The 5 Elements sect values Xiaoning very much. They won't let anything happen to her, Yi Yuxing said. However, there's also a flaw. Because Xiaoning received the purest energy to level up, the final result is the same as using the qi-gathering pill. She can no longer adapt to the outside world's spiritual energy to level up, if that's the case. Lin Yi thought about it and asked, will it affect her ascension to the heavenly Tao? Maybe, because it's unknown. No one knows the conditions to ascend to the heavenly Tao, but no one is willing to take this risk. Yi Yuxing said, if it's possible to cultivate on her own, she won't use the qi-gathering pill. Then why can't Xiaoning cultivate on her own? Lin Yi thought about it and asked. Chapter 3365. What does that have to do with the blessing? Lin Yi didn't expect Yuning to be a prophet. Was she talented in this area? Lin Yi would believe it if Yushu was a prophet. After all, many of her prophecies had come true. Yes, prophet masters have their own innate talent. However, it's just a feeling. They can't specifically predict something. However, that tantric sect expert could activate the innate talent in Xiaoning's body through enlightenment. This is something that can't be achieved through cultivation. Therefore, he could only choose enlightenment to increase his strength. Yi Yuxing said. Of course, it doesn't mean that the strength from the blessing can't reach heavenly Tao. This is all unknown, so I hope that young hero Lin can agree to this request. Haha, this request isn't too much. I have no reason to reject it. Lin Yi shook his head. Yuning's situation was similar to the women and followers around Lin Yi. Lin Yi would eventually find a way to solve this problem. Yuning alone was not enough. These were the side effects of Lin Yi's leveling up, so it had to be solved. Ah? I didn't expect young hero Lin to be so open-minded. I'm relieved. You agreed to let Ning go to Endless West Sea? Yi Yuxing quickly asked. Yes, I agree. Lin Yi nodded and his face turned serious. Next, are we going to talk about Shu? I heard that her parents were imprisoned by you guys. And you forced her to do something she didn't want to do? Like assassinating me? I can let bygones be bygones, but can you let her parents go? Shu! Yi Yuxing sighed as he said this. His face looked lonely and guilty. Lin Yi frowned when he heard Yi Yuxing say Shu. Yi Yuxing, you don't want to let them go? Lin Yi called Elder Yu by his name. This showed how angry he was. Ever since he found out about Shu's tragic life, he sympathized with her. Lin Yi kept it in mind, waiting for the right opportunity to make things clear to House Yu. This invitation from House Yu was undoubtedly a good opportunity. From Lin Yi's perspective, Yi Yuxing wouldn't reject it with his current strength. He didn't expect Yi Yuxing to be so hesitant. This made Lin Yi furious. Before we talk about that, there's something I don't want to hide anymore. I've been hiding it for too long, and I've been under a lot of pressure. All these years, other than Yu Yi and Qin, no one else from House Yu knows about this, including Xiaoning herself. Yi Yuxing's tone was heavy. But today, I'll tell you everything. I hope that you'll understand my difficulties after you hear it. What do you mean? Release them or not, it's just a matter of a word. Lin Yi's face was cold. His sky-class mid-phase peak strength was suddenly revealed, and this was giving Yi Yuxing a lot of pressure. Although Lin Yi wouldn't make a move directly, he still needed to let Yu Yuxing know that Lin Yi wouldn't be angry just because Yu Ning was here. Young hero Lin, please listen to me first. Yu Yuxing sighed helplessly. Actually, I didn't even imprison Shu's parents. What? What about her parents? Could it be that you've already killed him? Lin Yi's killing intent flared up. Her parents are alive and well. Yu Yuxing smiled bitterly. Not only are her parents fine, but her grandpa is also alive and well, huh? Lin Yi paused. Because her grandpa is me. Yu Yuxing let out a long breath, as if he was releasing all the depression he had been suppressing for years. WH. What? Lin Yi's eyes widened as he looked at Yu Yuxing. You're saying that Shu is your granddaughter? That's right, her father is my son, Yu Shaoxun, and Yu Ning is her twin sister. Yu Yuxing nodded and said solemnly. Yu Ning is Shu's sister? Lin Yi froze at this moment as he looked at Yu Yuxing, speechless. Fraternal twins, no wonder they didn't look that similar. Lin Yi had neglected this fact, but now that he thought about it, Ning and Shu did look similar in some ways. Yushu. Her real name is actually Yushu, the Chen surname is just a cover. Yu Yuxing continued slowly. House Chen knows about this as well, but I warned Elder Chen of House Chen to keep it a secret. Yushu? Lin Yi understood. No wonder the Yu in Yushu's name was different from the Yu in Yu Tian's name. Lin Yi thought that it was because they were male and female, but now it seemed like that wasn't the case. As for the pronunciations, it was just a coincidence. Then, Shu's engagement, what's going on? Lin Yi continued to ask. It's a fabrication. The person she's engaged to is the young master of Sky Elixir, Sky Silkworm Transformation, but it's arranged by 5 Elements School, and only Elder Chen knows about it. Yu Yuxing said. The reason for this is probably because the inheritor can't lose her virginity. I don't want Yushu to fall in love too early. But what I don't understand is, since Shu is from House Yu, why did you put her in the common world? Why did you force her? Lin Yi asked, puzzled. Yu Yuxing's words made sense, but Lin Yi still felt that there was something wrong with it. Yu Ning's attribute is water, while Yu Shu's attribute is fire. The two inheritors of water and fire cannot be together before they receive the inheritance. If they meet frequently, the result will be that the water and fire cancel each other out, and the physique of the two will change. Yu Yuxing said. You should know that water and fire are incompatible. We didn't tell Yushu the truth because we were afraid that she would meet with Yu Ning secretly. If they met each other, then all the arrangements would be for nothing. Water and fire are incompatible? The 5 elements are mutually restraining each other? Lin Yi frowned. If that's the case, then the inheritors of ice and fire will be together, right? Chapter 3366. Oh? Lin Yi was stunned. He didn't expect this. This is also the tragedy of 2 inheritors appearing at the same time. When she was young, Xiao Ning's body wasn't very good, and Xiao Shu's body was very strong. We could only choose to send her away. Speaking of which, she was also a child with a hard life. We didn't dare to tell her the truth. If it wasn't for the fact that we have no other choice, I'm afraid I will continue to hide this secret. I don't know how much Xiao Shu will hate us after she knows the truth. So that's how it is. Lin Yi nodded. Xiao Shu is a sensible child. Don't be fooled by her crazy appearance. In fact, if she knew that the sacrifice she made was for her sister, she would definitely understand. I hope so. I hope that young hero Lin can help explain. Yu Yuxing nodded happily after listening. Another thing is that Yu Shu is also going to receive the inheritance. The place she is going to is the Fiery Mountain. I believe she should have told you about it. However, what she will face is the same as Xiao Ning. There will also be a tantric master who will help her. Why? Asked Lin Yi. Because Xiao Shu and Xiao Ning are both prophets. After they receive the inheritance, their minds will be connected. To put it bluntly, they can share each other's thoughts to achieve the purpose of accurate calculation. Yu Yuxing said. What the fuck? Lin Yi jumped in shock. Sharing thoughts like this was possible? What will the personalities of Yuning and Yushu become? Will they affect each other? Moreover, these two people have the same thoughts. What is the relationship between Linny and them? Could it be that when he and one of them have sex, the other person can also sense each other's thoughts? Isn't this too much? Linny was suddenly shocked, speechless. Ahem. This is actually something that can't be helped. Yushin coughed twice and said, but fortunately, they both like you. There won't be any major conflicts of opinion in the future. It shouldn't be a big problem. Linny was speechless at Yushin's words. He didn't know how to answer, so he had to change the topic. You called me, just for these two things? Not bad, young hero Lin, since you've agreed, you'll be the most honored guest of our hidden house you. As for Shu, I hope you can help persuade her to come to Fiery Mountain with sincerity. Yushin said. Let's not talk about guests anymore. Since I'm here, I'll meet Xiao Ning. Perhaps this will be the last time I see her before she leaves. Linny sighed. All right, I'll make the arrangements. No one will disturb you tonight. However, you should know the importance of a successor, so I won't interfere with your hugging and kissing. But remember, there must be a limit. Yushin said. Sweat. You're thinking too much. Our relationship is very pure. Linny didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That night, Yushin held a banquet in the biggest living room of the Hidden House U to welcome Lin Yi's arrival. However, in the entire Hidden House U, only Yu Yi and Yu Xiaochen knew what Yushin meant. Everyone else was confused. Weren't Yushin and Lin Yi not on good terms before? Why were they eating together all of a sudden? Yuning didn't know that Lin Yi would come today. As usual, she was studying the rules of the Endless West Sea. Now, she knew what her mission was and what she was shouldering. She didn't know what the future held, but she had no other choice. She knew why House U had been glorious for the past few decades. She knew what it would mean if she refused. Of course, she couldn't refuse. She carried the hopes of everyone in House U. She finally knew why her grandfather was guarding against her and Lin Yi. She also knew what her grandfather was worried about. These days, Yuning was depressed. She didn't know if she could see Lin Yi again before she left. She didn't know if she could survive and come back to see Lin Yi. Today, Yuning was informed that there was an important banquet in the house. The whole family had to attend. Of course, the so-called whole family was Yushin, Yu Yi, Yu Xiaochen, and Yuning. As for Yu Xiaozhong and Yu Shan, they'd been blacklisted by Yu Hang, never to be mentioned again. Yuning left her residence and came to the living room. However, when Yuning stepped into the living room, she took a glance and saw Lin Yi's figure. She suddenly opened her mouth slightly and looked at the person sitting in the guest seat in disbelief. Yuning looked at her grandfather in shock. She didn't understand. Of course, in the past, every time Yu Xing attended a banquet, he would always be the last to arrive, because his identity and strength were the strongest. But today was different. Lin Yi was already seated, and he couldn't show any sense of superiority in front of Lin Yi, so he accompanied Lin Yi to the banquet. As for Yuning, she was further away, so she was the last to arrive. However, no one dared to reprimand her. The reason was that Lin Yi was sitting here. If Lin Yi didn't speak, who dared to speak? Xiao Ning, you're here. Sit next to me. Lin Yi smiled and waved at Yuning. There wasn't anyone sitting next to Lin Yi, but he made an exception and added a chair for Yuning. Of course, Lin Yi was the eldest here. Whatever he said was the law. And Yuning responded shyly. Seeing that her grandfather and father didn't object, Yui also added a chair for himself. Yuning quickly sat next to Lin Yi, but her face was a bit strange. She didn't know why House Yu was doing this today. Young hero Lin, can you say a few words? Seeing that everyone was seated, Yuxing said to Lin Yi. It was also a sign of respect to Lin Yi. I won't say anything. Elder Yu, you are the host. You can say it. Lin Yi waved his hand and refused. Okay then. Yuxing nodded. Hero Lin, I'm sure you're all familiar with him, right? He's one of the strongest practitioners in the world of practitioners, the savior of our hidden house Yu. He was the one who saved Ning when she was kidnapped, and when she went overseas to train, he was the one who protected her as well. The two of them were fated to be together from a long time ago. Chapter 3367. Yu Ning's mother was a beautiful woman. What surprised Lin Yi was that Yu Ning looked very similar to Yushu. It seemed like Yu Xing wasn't lying to him. Yu Ning, on the other hand, didn't look like her mother at all. If he looked closely, he could see the shadow of Yu Xiaochen and Yu Xiaojin. Of course, Yu Xiaochen was handsome when he was young. If Yu Xiaojin didn't marry the wrong person, she would be here now. Grandpa! Yu Ning was a little embarrassed. Lin Yi didn't hide anything. Since Yu Xing had invited him here, it meant that he was officially accepted. So, Lin Yi held Yu Ning's hand. This feeling made Lin Yi's heart beat faster. It was as if he had returned to that year, that Valentine's Day night, the bonfire, the cave, the beast outside, a beautiful girl sitting next to the bonfire, telling her heart to him. Everything came to Lin Yi's mind, as if it was a lifetime ago. This time, holding hands, he would never let go again. He would never let go of what he had missed before. Ning, accept the inheritance with peace of mind. For you, for Shu Yao Yao, and Xiao Xiao, I will participate in that plan. No one can stop me, Lin Yi said solemnly. Yushu, Meng Yao, and Xiao Xiao's names Yu Ning had heard Yu Bing mention them before. She knew that they were Lin Yi's confidants, so she wasn't jealous. She was just touched by Lin Yi's responsibility. Of course, the reason why Yu Ning didn't reject her becoming an inheritor was because of these people. Lin Yi couldn't give up on them. At the same time, Lin Yi wouldn't give up on her. But because of House Yu, he had never made a solemn promise. Today, Lin Yi made a promise, and Yu Ning was relieved. This time, no matter how many obstacles and thorns there were, she would face them with a smile. Night. In a cave in the mountain behind House Yu, Lin Yi brought Yu Ning and lit a bonfire here. The back mountain was the hidden House Yu's forbidden grounds. Everyone from House Yu, including Yu Yi and Yu Xiaochen, didn't dare stay there for no reason. Yu Xing, however, ignored Lin Yi and Yu Ning's actions. This night, Yu Ning and Lin Yi quietly sat side by side at the entrance of the cave, looking at the burning bonfire in front of them. Although there were no beasts here, there was no worry of war, but the memories of the two people seemed to have returned to the past. Yu Ning leaned her head on Lin Yi's shoulder. The two of them snuggled together, and the thousands of words in their hearts were hidden in this long night. Lin Yi and Yu Ning were communicating with each other. It seemed that they both knew what to say. Without saying anything, they could feel each other's deep concern. The next morning, Lin Yi said goodbye to Yu Ning and Yu Yuxing. He brought Xiaoke and Yu Dake out of the hidden House Yu. Yu Ning, it was time to go. Lin Yi had to return home as soon as possible and talk to Shu, because after Yu Ning, it would be her. Kong Mingming, in the end, didn't find little Yi's body. He drove back to Five Elements sect alone, and the first thing he did was to meet the Xiantian ancestor. Zhao Ming, you are back? Did you find little Yi's body? The Xiantian ancestor looked at Kong Mingming and asked. No. Kong Mingming shook his head. He also felt that this matter was quite scary. Such a big living body, it just disappeared like that. Wasn't it a bit unrealistic? But so what if it wasn't realistic? Then what happened? The Xiantian ancestor frowned. Little Yi's soul jade tablet was cracked, but it didn't break. What did this mean? Could it be that there were some uncertain factors in this? Father-in-law, I don't know either. Kong Mingming smiled bitterly. In short, things are too strange. If you didn't call me, I wouldn't have known that senior brother's body had been lost. Forget it, let's not talk about this matter for now. Maybe something unexpected happened. Although the Xiantian ancestor's scalp was a little numb, he was a top cultivator after all, so he could control his emotions very well. He looked at Kong Mingming and said, Previously you told me that Lin Yi didn't have the strength to kill a peak late-stage heaven-stage great perfection master? It should be like this. Otherwise he wouldn't have asked the Bubbly clan to take action and owe such a big favor. Kong Mingming nodded. In that case, this is a chance to kill Lin Yi. The Xiantian ancestor clicked his tongue, pondered for a moment, and said, Now, we can't do anything to Lin Yi. Boss Bai is watching over there, and we're about to reach the critical moment of the Heavenly Island plan. I don't want to cause unnecessary trouble. This time, we're relying on the Bubbly clan, and we've also suffered a loss. Boss Bai might not blame us, but if we directly make a move, I can't guarantee that he won't do something desperate. But if we let Lin Yi develop like this, then whether our Heavenly Island plan can be carried out is another matter. Kang Mingming followed the Xiantian ancestor and more or less understood some things about the Heavenly Island plan. Most of those inheritors are Lin Yi's women. When the time comes, if he objects, our efforts will be in vain. That's true. The Xiantian ancestor closed his eyes. After a moment, he opened them again, and a bright light shot out. He said, It seems that the heavenly trial is the only chance to kill Lin Yi. Father-in-law, our Five Elements sect is going to hold a trial? After hearing this, Kang Mingming was slightly surprised and quickly asked, That's right, our Five Elements sect hasn't held a trial for a long time. Taking advantage of the Heavenly Island plan, we'll hold a trial and kill Lin Yi here. The Xiantian ancestor nodded and said, The deaths and injuries in the trial can't be investigated. Even if Boss Bai is unwilling, there's nothing we can do. But this time, who are we going to send to kill Lin Yi? Kang Mingming asked. I'm going to let Little Fool and the Heavenly Silkworm transformation team up to kill Lin Yi. I don't believe that two experts at the peak of the late stage of Heaven's stage can't beat Lin Yi. The Xiantian ancestor sneered and said, Zhao Ming, go and cultivate. You'll also participate in the heavenly trial this time. Go and experience it, but you must be careful. Chapter 3368. Don't worry. I have already talked to Dr. Benjamin too. His and Miss Lan's experiment is over. This time, he will send the Zhao family's experts to be your bodyguards. Each of these Zhao family's experts has the strength of peak late-stage great perfection. You don't have to worry about your safety, said Ancestor Xiantian. No way? So powerful? Kang Mingming was overjoyed after hearing it. 3 top experts. However, he was a little confused. Since these people are so powerful, why don't you let them kill Lin Yi? Isn't that easier? The 3 of them have just achieved divine power, and they don't have much experience. They haven't adapted to the identity of peak late-stage great perfection. I'm afraid they will suffer a loss if we let them kill Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi is more cunning and has some trump cards, so it's better to let Little Fool and Heavenly Silkworm transformation, who have more combat experience, take action, Ancestor Xiantian said. In addition, these people from the Zhao family, although they have hatred for Lin Yi, in the end, they are on Miss Lan's side. Miss Lan didn't mention this matter, so we can't make a decision on our own. If that's the case, then I can have a good time. Kang Mingming nodded happily after listening. Little Yi, let's investigate this matter a little more. A living person like that is gone just like that? Are you sure it's not Lin Yi's doing? Ancestor Xiantian was still worried about Little Yi. It shouldn't be. I left first, and Lin Yi left later. When I left, there was a corpse in the car. Besides, what's the use of a dead person for Lin Yi? Kang Mingming shook his head. That's true, but if I don't find Lil Yi's body, I won't feel at ease. Is there someone else standing in the dark? I don't believe in the existence of any supernatural things, said Ancestor Xiantian. Then I'll investigate again. Although Kang Mingming said so, he didn't take it to heart. In his opinion, people were dead, so who cared where their bodies went? Okay, but be careful. Patriarch Xuantian's words warmed Kang Mingming's heart. It seemed like Patriarch Xiantian still cared about him. Lin Yi left the hidden house with Yu Dake and Yu Xioka, returning to Dahai City. On the way, Lin Yi didn't seem to be in a good mood. He kept his eyes closed, deep in thought. Yu Dake could tell that Lin Yi wasn't in a good mood, so he didn't dare to say anything. Xiaoka, on the other hand, was a little depressed. Obviously, Lin Yi and Yu Ning from the hidden house had something going on. She could tell from the look in her eyes when she sent him off. Although Xiaoke didn't say it, she wasn't too happy that another girl popped out. But it was only for a while. Xiuke knew where she stood, and she was glad that the male thief only liked her. That was enough. As for Lin Yi, Xiuke's love was for the gentle male thief in the tomb. I'm going to train for a bit. Call me if you need anything, Lin Yi finally said. There were too many things going on recently, and Lin Yi didn't have the time to train. He wasted a lot of time, and now, the inheritor's plan wasn't far away. Lin Yi had to raise his strength to the next level as soon as possible. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to handle the unknown dangers in the future. Yuning, Yushu, Mengyao, Xiao Xiao, Little Nine, these people all needed Lin Yi's protection. Lin Yi had to have the strength to look down on everyone else. Only then would he have the absolute right to speak in the plan. After entering the Jade Space, Lin Yi was about to sit down and train, but suddenly, Lin Yi saw a corner of the Jade Space. He was shocked and almost screamed. Luckily, it was in the Jade Space. Otherwise, wouldn't Xiaoke and Yu Dake be shocked? Fuck, Jiao Lao, what are you doing? What is this? Lin Yi pointed at the corner of the Jade Space. Isn't that Little Yi's body? How did you get into my space? Lin Yi wasn't afraid of dead people, but an enemy's body appearing in the Jade Space out of nowhere made Lin Yi a little uneasy. It's not me. It's that guy, Jiao Yazi said as he pointed at the ghost in the corner. Ghost Senior, you're awake? Lin Yi paused and asked. Yes, he's awake. This corpse is pretty good. It's a peak late heaven rank expert at the Great Perfection realm, a bit stronger than an ordinary Great Perfection expert. I'll temporarily refine him into my puppet avatar to play with. I've recently recovered a lot of my spirit power here. The spiritual energy here is really abundant, haha. The ghost suddenly laughed. Speaking of which, I have to thank you for giving me such a good toy. Puppet doppelganger? Lin Yi paused. He didn't understand what the ghost meant. You brought this body in? How can you control the Jade Space? Haha, in the space of the Jade Pendant, I'm actually half the owner of the space. If you can bring things in, then I can too. You can ask Elder Jiao, he can do it too. The ghost laughed. Of course, this is all thanks to the Jade Space you made. If you didn't make it, I wouldn't be able to bring the body in. I see. Lin Yi shuddered. Luckily, he wasn't afraid of these things. Otherwise, he'd be scared to death. Then did you make it? What's the purpose of refining this so-called puppet clone? Actually, it's not that useful. I just want to send a strand of my primordial spirit into this corpse and turn it into my puppet doppelganger. It can move freely in the outside world. Of course, it's still a little weak for me. I'll just take it as I'm bored and go out to play, the ghost said. It's equivalent to another me. It can be controlled by the me in the Jade Space. Oh? In other words, it's equivalent to a Sky-class late-phase master outside the Jade Space. Moreover, it's controlled by you? Lin Yi was pleasantly surprised. Isn't this equivalent to having an extra fighter? However, after the excitement, Lin Yi calmed down. Although this was a powerful fighter, would this ghost be willing to work for him? He'd asked it for help several times before, but it was cold and indifferent. This time, it should be even more unwilling to let its clone be a fighter. Chapter 3369. Then, Senior, can you send this puppet avatar to help me? Lin Yi pondered for a moment and asked. For example, when I'm in danger? Well, yes. The ghost didn't hesitate this time. It directly agreed without much thought, which made Lin Yi very surprised. He thought that he had heard it wrong. Senior Ghost, did you just say yes? Lin Yi asked with a little bit of disbelief. Yes. The ghost laughed and said, Don't be surprised. In fact, my puppet avatar still needs your help to enter and exit the space of the Jade Pendant. Although I can also control it, it will consume a lot of my spirit power. I don't want to use my spirit power in this place. When the time comes, I will need your help. Oh? However, if I were to help, wouldn't that mean that this puppet clone would enter another space? The one that I refined? Linny pointed to the space where he stored things. That won't happen. This puppet avatar has a mind and retains my thoughts. It will automatically choose the space that it needs, and it won't enter the space next to it. The ghost explained. I see. Linny suddenly understood. Then is this thing alive or dead? How can it enter the space, but other living things can't? Other things can, but there's no air inside, so it can't be breathed. The ghost said until here, but was suddenly interrupted by Jiao Yazi. Ahem! Jiao Yazi coughed twice. Ha, I won't say it. Jiao Yazi won't let me say it. The ghost quickly stopped talking. Obviously, when Linny wasn't in the space, the two of them had communicated, which made Linny very unhappy. Obviously, it was hidden from him. This puppet avatar isn't a living person. Of course, it can't be said to be a dead person. It can only be called a living dead. It doesn't need to breathe. It only needs to absorb the aura of heaven and earth to replenish its physical strength, and its thoughts are controlled by the old ghost. Jiao Yazi explained. As for other living people, they can't come in for the time being. Okay. Linny heard Jiao Yazi's words. So, could he come in the future? However, Linny didn't want to ask anymore. If he asked, it would be useless because his memory hadn't recovered. Moreover, Linny had a puppet avatar with the strength of the late peak of heaven stage to help him. It was already a very good thing. It seemed that this trip was very rewarding. If there are more corpses of masters with the strength of the late peak of heaven stage, can you continue to refine the puppet avatar? Linny asked. I can, but it consumes a lot of my spirit power. It's not interesting. Moreover, I see that this master with the strength of the late peak of heaven stage is stronger than the others, so I got it for fun. The others are too weak. I'm not interested. The ghost said. You are quite suitable. Why don't I refine you? Then forget it. Although Lin Yi knew that the ghost was joking, he still shuddered. If it wanted to make a move on him, it would have done it a long time ago. It was obviously to scare him. Hee hee, I will continue to sleep. My puppet avatar is always awake. If there's anything, you can find him. After the ghost finished speaking, it didn't move at all. Senior Ghost, are you dormant? Linny tried to ask. Yes. The puppet avatar suddenly spoke, and it gave Linny a fright. The voice was exactly the same as Little E. Okay, you go on with your work. Linny felt weird. The addition of Little E in the Jade space really made him feel uncomfortable. No wonder Kong Ning Ning was looking for corpses everywhere. It turned out that the corpse was brought by the ghost. Linny sat cross-legged and began to practice. The car sped on the road. When they reached Dahai City, it was already midnight. However, the sound of the car still woke Yushu up. Han Jingjing had already returned to her villa to do experiments. This girl was so busy that she couldn't hear the outside world at all. Shield bro, you are back? Yushu looked a little haggard. Linny felt a slight pain in his heart. Perhaps she already knew from Yui that she was going to Fiery Mountain. Shoo, let's go in and talk. Linny reached out and rubbed her forehead. You didn't rest before? Yeah, I have something to tell you. Yui called me before. Shu was a little down. I know, I went to the hidden house Yu Xing and Elder Yu already told me everything. Linny said. It's about going to Fiery Mountain, right? Yeah. I'm leaving in a few days. Yushu sighed. Yushu sighed softly. I knew this day would come, but I didn't think it'd come so soon. Yao Yao's gone, I'm gone, and Xi and Yan's fainted. I'm really worried about the family. Linny bro, don't look at me like I'm an idiot. Yeah, I know, but don't worry, after you go, I'll go find you guys in no time. I'll be a part of that plan, and I won't let anyone hurt you guys. Absolutely not. Linny nodded solemnly. Yeah, Shu believes that Shield Bro will be very powerful. Don't forget that I'm Prophet Shu. Yushu smiled and clenched her fist. Prophet Shu. Linny suddenly remembered Yuxing's words. No wonder Shu's words had come true so many times. Before, Linny thought that it was a coincidence, but now that he thought about it, it wasn't. This was Shu's innate talent. But now that she said it, it made Linny more confident in facing the future plan. If Shu really predicted that the future wouldn't be smooth, she would probably stop it at all costs, right? Or maybe she didn't predict anything, and her words were just to comfort Linny. But no matter what, Linny was full of courage and confidence now. In the living room of the villa, Udake and Yoshioka sat on the sofa. Linny didn't want to hide anything from them. Ever since Linny knew about Yoshioka's ability, he planned to train her to be his best assistant in battle. Yoshioka's ability could save lives in critical moments. Especially when Linny used his ultimate skill, he used up all his energy. As long as Yoshioka could hold on for a while, Linny would have the chance to recover. Chapter 3370. It's nothing. Right, did Yi tell you about your parents? Linny felt that he had to tell Shu about this. With Shu's mature personality, she wouldn't do anything irrational. Oh? No, Shield Bro, are you going to the hidden house to help me find my parents? Yushu asked quickly. Part of it. You've heard of Yuning, right? Linny nodded. Yeah, isn't she Shield Bro's first love? Yushu had heard about Yuning before, so she wasn't too surprised. Her other identity is the inheritor of the water element, Linny said. Ah? She's also an inheritor? Holy shit, all the inheritors are Shield Bro's wives? Yushu's eyes widened in shock. Pfft. Isn't there a mist and wood element too? Linny felt that this was quite a coincidence. All the inheritors were related to him in some way, but was it really a coincidence? Lin Dongfang and Mo Kongwen might just smile and not say anything. Was it planned? Or? Mist element. Yushu opened her mouth but didn't say anything. I think so too, ahem. Okay. It can't be Yoshioka and Wang Xinyan, right? Linny smiled bitterly. I don't know. Yushu shook her head. So House Yu's Miss is also an inheritor. Her most important identity isn't an inheritor, but your sister, Linny suddenly said. Oh? Yushu blinked. My sister? What do you mean? She clearly didn't understand what Linny was talking about. It was too sudden, and it was hard for her to understand. Yuning is your sister, Linny said seriously. Your real name is Yushu, and you're from the hidden house Yu. Ah? Yuning is my sister? Then my parents. At this moment, Shu, who was always calm and had a mischievous look on her face, was a little flustered. This news was too shocking, it overturned everything she knew in the past 10 years. Although Shu knew that she wasn't from House Qin, she always thought that House Yu kidnapped her parents and forced her to do something. But now Linny said that she was from House Yu? How was this possible? Your parents are Yu Shaoqin and his wife. Your grandfather is Yu Xing. You and Yu Ning are twin sisters. She's the older sister, and you're the younger sister. It's that simple, Linny said. This? How is this possible? Then why did you treat me like that? Brother Linny, are you lying to Shu? Is it because Shu's parents are dead and you're trying to comfort her? Yushu didn't believe Lin Yi's words. When have I ever lied to you? Linny smiled bitterly. Actually, it's like this. With that, Linny told Yushu everything Yu Xing said in detail. Yushu wasn't stupid. In fact, she was very smart. She fell into silence after hearing Lin Yi's words, but it was obvious that she believed the truth. She was indeed from the hidden house Yu, and she was Yu Xing's granddaughter. So, actually, House Yu had no choice. They were afraid that I would go home to see my parents and sister, so they lied to me? Yushu sighed softly. Yes, although they lied to you, there's a reason behind it. Of course, I'm not trying to excuse them. I just think that since they are your family, and you've been looking forward to it for so long, there's no need to make things unpleasant. Linny explained. No. Actually. They think that I'm crazy and would do anything. It's not like that. Shield Bro, you know Shu the best, don't you? If I knew the truth, I would never go to my sister. Yushu shook her head and murmured. I know, but your disguise has successfully fooled many people, including Yao. So, there's a reason why House Yu lied to you, Linny said. But you don't hate your sister, do you? If you gave her away, you would be the princess of House Yu. No, I think I'm very lucky. If I stayed in the hidden House Yu, how sad would that be? I wouldn't be able to meet Yao Yao, and I wouldn't be able to meet Shield Bro, Yushu said happily and confidently. Linny sighed in relief. Didn't Ning meet me too? Even if she did, it wouldn't be as easy as Shu meeting Shield Bro. Her family doesn't even allow her to meet him, but Shu can live with Shield Bro. I'm afraid that my sister would be jealous of me. Yushu smiled. Linny didn't know if Shu was telling the truth or not. She was too good at hiding her true feelings and thoughts. But no matter what, Shu's attitude made Linny sigh in relief. But although she is my sister, I still support Yao Sis as the main wife. This won't change. Shu's position is very firm, Yushu said suddenly. Pfft. Ahem, Shu, I'm talking about something serious. Why are you saying this all of a sudden? Linny was a little embarrassed. Shu is talking about something serious, Yushu said matter-of-factly. Huh? So you're saying that you can let go of the knot in your heart and go to Fiery Mountain? Before you leave, I'll go with you to the hidden House Yu? Linny asked. I'm not going. Actually, my parents are just something I've been looking forward to for a long time. Now that I know about it, I don't really want to see them anymore. Thinking about it, the closest people to me are actually Yao Yao Sis and Shield Bro, as well as House Chen's parents, grandpa and brother. I don't have any sense of belonging in the hidden House Yu. My Yuning Sis, I can accept her because of Shield Bro, but I suddenly don't want to see anyone else. Yushu shook her head lightly. Alright, I'll listen to you. Linny suddenly felt a little sad. Yushu always thought that her parents were forced by House Yu. Now that she knew that wasn't the case, her persistence was shattered. Naturally, she didn't feel much about the hidden House Yu anymore. Shu's a little sleepy. I'm going to sleep. Shield Bro, see you tomorrow. Yushu stood up slowly. For the first time, she didn't ask Linny about the adventure in Hakonamada Desert. Linny knew that Shu must have suffered quite a big blow today. He didn't say anything else. Yeah, good night. Sweet dreams. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.